Am I starting it out today?
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the First Line. We are back with a brand new installment this week, and we're coming back better than ever. I know we say that every week, but this week I truly do mean that. MLB season right around the corner, NBA, NHL picking up right now, playoffs right around the corner for that. NFL free agency has me bouncing from the left wall to the right wall to the northwest to the southwest to the border. I'm telling you, all the way back. But above all, it's March, which means that's everyone's favorite time of the year. We got March Madness starting tomorrow. A lot of ideas flowing right now, a lot of talk. Last year we broke down our bracket. Mike, would you like to talk a little bit about last year's bracket and what you want to expect for this year's bracket? Things to improve on, Mike?
Well, contrary to further belief, Vermont is not in this tournament, so unfortunately we cannot have a Cinderella Final Four run by Vermont, even though we didn't have that last year. But it was up and down last year. We were very upset heavy, but we got majority of the upsets wrong, if I'm not mistaken.
We had a Big East heavy bracket last year. You know, the
Big East really heavy.
Motto last year was if all else fails, the Big East. This year we may see a little bit similar. You know, who knows? Hey.
Little hint. I'm a little bit similar.
We don't disclose anything until the game time. Well, wait, no, it is game time, so I guess it is time to disclose. We're going to be breaking it down from the round of 62 all the way down to the Final Four and the national title game. We're starting at the top here, so buckle up, folks. If you got popcorn, put a little extra butter and salt on it. If not, if you're into like kettle corn, like, you know, Orville Redenbacher, that's cool too. But, you know, for the people who actually want to be champions and actually want to, you know, compete for a national title, they will be eating the buttery movie theater flavor. My favorite, Mike. I don't know. What's your favorite popcorn, Mike? Got an opinion for me there?
I like to go Orville Redenbacher. Little salt, little butter, and make sure you have your water because we're going to stay hydrated. We got a long show ahead.
A lot of extra butter. All right, well, the first game on the top of our list.
Here's our bracket.
And here it is from last year. Actually, Mike just pulled up our bracket.
We got the national championship right.
We did get the national championship right. We got the national champion correct, right?
Yes, we didn't get the national championship. We got the national champion correct because it was UNC Gonzaga.
Well, the first one we have off the bat, which is everyone's favorite, it's the 1 versus 16 matchup. We got a team playing here in West Philadelphia, E.10, going up against a 1-seeded Kansas team. Mike, I'm going to just start out by saying, you know, a 16 seed has never beaten a 1 in the history of this entire tournament. And I feel like every single year, you know, we always say, if it was going to be any matchup, it would be the 1. Well, I feel like a lot, and I'm going to emphasize that, a lot
I think
of people.
I think
all people are saying that out of any matchup at a 16-1, this would be the 1. Mike, can you tell me why you're picking either Penn or Kansas to win? And keys to an upset here for a team from West Philadelphia.
Okay, well, I'm picking Kansas in this game just because, I mean, they're 1 seed. It's obviously Kansas, but I think a lot of people are leaning towards Penn because they're just a big school. You know, you usually don't see, you know, a 16 seed, you know, with a name as pronounced and known as, you know, University of Pennsylvania Quakers. So I think that's a big reason why a lot of people are leaning towards Penn. And, I mean, they're the Ivy League champion, and they've been shooting the ball pretty well as lately. And Kansas, you know, has some injury questions inside the paint with, excuse me, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but Udoka Adebuki. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm probably going to have to mention him a lot, so I'm just going to say his name and refer to him as him from now on because that's too hard to say.
Yeah.
But there's some questions surrounding Kansas, but, you know, they have some senior leadership, so they should be able to get by Penn. But, I mean, Penn's been playing very good basketball lately, and the Ivy League school always, you know, maybe can shoot one upset in there every single tournament. So if we say this every year, but if it were the year to happen, it's this year.
You really think so? I'm going to have to disagree with you, although I do like that argument. You know, we've seen it in the past with, you know, Princeton slipping into the tournament, Harvard a couple years back with that little jab they gave at, you know, the field of 62. I'm going to pick Kansas in this game. I do think it's going to be a close game. One thing I will say about Penn is they defend the 3-ball very well, and Kansas is going to really need to force that inside the paint. Like you said, Mike, you know, injuries here and there have forbidden Kansas from doing that. You know, they've had to really move the ball outside the arc. They play the 3-ball very well at Penn. They make very limited mistakes, and they're a very well-coached team. So I think, you know, this game for me personally, I'm going to pick Kansas by 5 in this game. But a key to success that I'm really going to look at here for Penn, you know, in this basketball game is the tempo. I mean, tempo is going to be huge. You know, we're going to talk about tempo a lot in these matchups. But if they can really control that tempo, I think they can win that game. But regardless of the fact, I still think Kansas is going to come out victorious in that by 5. So.
Yeah, it's definitely doable by Penn. There's really no reason they can't beat Kansas. I mean, honestly, Kansas has a real tough road ahead of them. Real tough road. I mean, we both have them advancing far, and I'm pretty sure Massimo over here hidden in the corner has them advancing pretty far as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Penn. You're just there. I mean, you guys have basically said the most of it. It's just Kansas has more experience versing better teams. They're just more experienced in the situation.
They'll self-coach team.
You know, it's like, hey, Penn, it's like kind of like watching the Tennessee Titans when they made it to the playoffs. It's like give them a participation award.
Nice
Great
try.
job. Here's your golden star. Now get out of my face. Time to see some real basketball.
Okay.
I'm just playing. I didn't mean to sound so harsh, but that's the way it is, and that's why I got Kansas going ahead.
Well, we're going to do it a little bit differently this time. We're going to go in corn country first. Usually we would go east, west, north, south, and all that good stuff. We're starting in the Midwest.
It's all about your veggies.
It's all about your
grains. It's all about the
grains.
grains.
All about the grains, man. Those farm boys, breeding those pigs, those cows, the hardworking farmers. We thank you. Delicious. All that meat coming from the Midwest. Love it. Good food.
It is appreciated.
It is very much appreciated, actually. Midwest, hardworking people. The next matchup we got is a team from New Jersey. They play ball up in Orange. Seton Hall taking on NC State. Phillip Rivers alumni. Mike Glennon, another alumni. Two great quarterbacks.
Well, we got Russell Wilson. Could have been
alumni. You could have been Russ, but you decided to go play in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I'm going to be pretty blunt with you here. I got Seton Hall winning this game. I was really impressed with what they've accomplished a lot in the Big East. We said it was going to be a theme. I think it's going to be another theme this year. Not really to the degree it was last season, but I think if all else fails here, the Big East, I like the way Seton Hall's playing. They got a lot of guys who can score. Been here before. NC State's been playing some good ball. The ACC's been real tough.
Especially of late, NC State's been playing pretty good.
Yeah, real great ball. But overall, I just really like Seton Hall in this game. They've been here before, done it. So
same. I just like the little thing Seton Hall does. I really like Angel Delgado. Feels like he's been there for 15 years, as Jay Wright says. I'm with him on that. But he's really good. Obviously Big East. If you can't tell already, you're very far behind, but we're huge Big East guys. So I like Seton Hall to pull it out. They've been struggling a little bit as late, and NC State's been really trending upwards. And NC State's a really good team. They beat Duke once, beat North Carolina, Clemson, and also Arizona. So they're definitely capable of beating Seton Hall. And it's that 1-8-9 matchup that can go either way. But I just like Seton Hall to pull it out because they can really dominate inside with Angel Delgado and really control the pace of play. And I like that a lot about this team.
Moving down, this one's been on a lot of people's minds this week. We got New Mexico State Aggies going up against Clemson, a team that Temple actually defeated at the Charleston Classic earlier this year. Two teams that Temple actually defeated. We'll get to this team a little bit later, but both Auburn and Clemson have really struggled in late. Clemson made a really early exit in the ACC tournament. They've been struggling a lot to really get the ball moving, playing defense. Defense has been shaky. New Mexico State really gets to the board, and they don't really have to rely on a lot of people to score here. When we're talking about tempo here, Clemson ranks in the top 250, not even under 250 in tempo, whereas New Mexico State ranks within the 150 range, so the tempo difference is pretty significant. And when you really look at it, New Mexico State, regardless of, them being in, a lower tier conference, taking on a team like Clemson, I really have a lot of faith in this team, and I'm going to tell you why right here. They got a great kid on their team. His name's Zach Lofton right now. Mr. Lofton is 45.3% shooting from the field, and he's putting up 19.7 points per game, which is just as much as Clemson's, best player. So right now when I'm looking at this New Mexico State team, I really look at depth. They got 2-3 guys who can play. They control the game. They control the pace. When games are played at a slower pace, a 5-point lead can sometimes, feel like a 10-point lead because they can really slow it down, take the lead on a 3-ball. I think New Mexico State's going to control this. In fact, I got them making a little bit of a run here, Mike. I want to hear what your thoughts are, though.
We pretty much got the exact opposite thoughts. I've got Clemson beating New Mexico State and making a little bit of run to the Sweet 16 and then their own. I just like the way Clemson's they've been sort of figuring it out a little bit as late. They've been having some injury trouble, but the ACC tournament against Virginia, they played a hard-fought game. They only lost by 6, so that really shows I was the number one team, in the nation and currently in a tournament right now. So I think Clemson's figuring around a little bit. I like how they were just looking in the ACC tournament against Virginia, and that really gave me a big confidence boost because I was sort of having your thoughts. I was a little down on Clemson, but after seeing that game, I have faith that they can win 1 or 2 games and really advance in this tournament because New Mexico State definitely can do it. But I just like Clemson's grittiness. I think they'll be able to pull it out.
I actually think this is going to be a low-scoring game, something you should consider when picking this game. Clemson's, when adjusted defensive efficiency, is ranked 8th in the entire nation. Well, guess what? New Mexico State's defensive efficiency is ranked 15th. So the two are pretty neck and neck defensively, and we know the two can score. I'm going to give New Mexico State the edge here because injuries, all year have really been a big storyline for Clemson. I think New Mexico State's going to board the ball, Mike, and I really think the depth here is going to overpower. I think they're a special little team.
I know Mass has some very big J journalism research on this game.
Honestly, guys, it's going to be New Mexico State all the way. I'm calling this hungry season. This is part one of my most ridiculous picks I'm going to do. This is one of the least ridiculous ones, but we're going to start off with it. First of all, my boy Chris Jans, first-year head coach in New Mexico State, and he's destroying it right now. Right now, they're on a 6-game winning streak. And honestly, with an injured Clemson team, I'm going to just quickly say that New Mexico State's just got this one, all right? They're going off, they're hungry, they want the win, and if it's anything I've learned in this past year of sports, it's hungry teams win, baby.
Hungry dogs run fast. Is Jason Kelsey addressing New Mexico State?
I don't know. As soon as I saw that mummer who just randomly went to the Eagles parade or something, he just inspired me to just follow the hungry dogs. So I got New Mexico State winning this one.
Okay.
All right, well, we're going to move down here in the bracket. Now we're moving on to number 13, Charleston, taking on a number 4 Auburn team. Temple faced Auburn earlier.
Temple beat.
Another team that Temple beat. We're moving on. We actually play at 8 o'clock tonight, so if there's any point in the show where Mike's talking about Wright State and me and Massimo are trying to debate how Tennessee is going to avoid the upset from Wright State, you could randomly hear one of us go, "Oh my gosh," or something along the lines of "gosh darn it." And that's completely normal. That's usually just how Temple basketball games go, because it's never really quite an even flow. I would say more of a roller coaster of emotions. So just keep that in mind. Listen in. You might find a hint or two. You never know.
Sure, you may.
So I'm going to just go right to the point. Mike had a lot of strong thoughts on this game going into this right now. I'm picking Auburn. I'm not going to give a really deep explanation here. CFC, College of Charleston, they play in the CAA. No disrespect, George Mason's old conference and all. But listen, Auburn's had a great year. I get that they've struggled and all, but when I really, really look at this team overall, I just think they have way too much for College of Charleston in this game, Mike. I'm sorry.
I mean, they're sort of, similar teams, just, reading off the basis. Auburn has a very nice balance of scoring attack with anybody who can drop in a lot of points any given night. But, Charleston, also as well, names like Grant Ryler, Joe Cheesley and Jarrell Brantley, they have people who can score as well. And really, their big weakness is from looking over the stats, reading about them and everything. It just seems rebounding. And when it comes to rebounding, Auburn really doesn't have, that 6'11 guy, that 6'10 big physical guy that necessarily scares me on the board. So this is a game I feel like that will definitely be in reach within reach with Charleston. And, they're a pretty good free throw shooting team, just like Auburn. So I feel like this is a very even matchup. This is a game that will be in Charleston's reach. And I think this is a game they will grab possession of, late in the game, last minute or so, that they can really pull off this upset. So I'm going Charleston here. I just haven't liked how Auburn is trending a little bit downwards of late. It's just something about this Auburn team. I feel like one of Clemson and Auburn, one of them is going to lose in the first round. I think it's definitely safe to say one of them will lose in the first round. And I just think it will be Auburn.
I mean, a big storyline, when you're filling out your bracket every single year is you really want to look at how a team's playing going into it. Inconsistency has really been a big storyline for a lot of these teams. It really had, Texas Tech and Miami and Clemson and Auburn, teams that had big Octobers, Novembers, didn't really finish out the season, didn't really, do a lot of damage in their conference tournaments. And it's definitely something to keep in mind. We're going to touch on that little hint later on in the show. But moving on to our next matchup here, we have a playing game tonight, Mike. So I'm first going to start out by this just for the fun of it. Arizona State, Syracuse. Who you got in this game, Mike? I'm going with Arizona State.
Arizona State, I'm going with Arizona State too. I'm honestly borderline very upset that Syracuse got into
over Notre Dame.
Even has a chance. I'm mad Syracuse even has a chance.
Yeah,
please.
I mean, over Notre Dame, too, of all teams. It's interesting because Notre Dame's in Temple's region for the NIT. That's a very good basketball team. A lot of teams in the NIT this season, very notable programs. Programs like Louisville, who has recently been to a national championship. Marquette played in big games, plays in the Big East. You got Notre Dame in that bracket. There's a lot of raw talent in that field this year, and that's something to consider. Syracuse got picked over a lot of very deserving teams, in my opinion. I'm going with Arizona State in that game. I'm going to go with TCU for the win, Mike. TCU shoots the ball like no other team in the Big 12, man. They really shoot lights out.
TCU is definitely one of those teams you really didn't hear about a lot in the Big 12. A lot.
Very good team, ranked above Oklahoma, who shouldn't even be in this tournament right now.
Jeez.
Both them and Kansas State.
Jeez.
Ranked above Oklahoma, by the way, just so you know. We'll get to that later, right? We like to share our feelings.
For sure.
So, anyway, moving on to another game in the tournament right now. We got Michigan State. Tom Izzo's Michigan State going up against Bucknell. Now, Mike, something to note. Unlike Roy Williams, Coach K, well, actually not Coach K. Coach K gets knocked out early in tournaments, but mostly like Roy Williams, Jay Wright, and John Calipari. When you look at Michigan State and look at Tom Izzo, they've been prone to losing first rounds of NCAA tournaments before, Mike. They're playing a Bucknell team, a little special Bucknell team, a team that you kind of see here and there in the NCAA tournament, Mike. Any hope for an upset in this game?
I do think there's hope because there's always that one team where, before the tournament we're going all in, this team's definitely going Final Four, book it, it was a 100% chance, this, that. So I feel like the two teams this year that are really getting that vibe for me are Arizona and Michigan State. And I feel like one of them has a chance to definitely get knocked out early. I don't think it'll happen. I really, especially on Michigan State side, I really don't see a matchup that really should scare them leading up to the Sweet 16 at the very least. Arizona has a higher chance of losing in the first or second round, in my opinion. Right. But there's hope for an upset, but I just don't know if Bucknell will have enough to really answer Miles Bridges, because I really think Miles Bridges at times can just be too much for teams, just way too much.
And it's not really often you get really home court advantage in the NCAA tournament, but something to note, this game will be played in Detroit. Bucknell only took on one top 25 team this year. They lost, 2-4 this season for Michigan State versus top 25 teams. When you look at their BPI rank, nothing really to shine about here for Bucknell. I just think Michigan State has faced the better competition. I like Tom Izzo as a coach. I'd love to pick Bucknell in this game, actually. I actually think when I look at Bucknell every single year, I feel like they're a team that you really shouldn't be scared to pick, considering that they're always kind of, underseeded for how good they are. But I like Michigan State a lot in this game. I don't think they're going to get to the Final Four. I really don't think they're that good this year, but I sure don't see them losing. I actually have them going past TCU in the next round. So
I think Michigan State, as long as they get by that first matchup, they'll be fine. I wouldn't say guaranteed Sweet 16 run, but there's really, in my opinion, an 80% chance they get to Sweet 16. It's just the road is very easy for them, in my opinion.
Well, moving down, it's everyone's favorite matchup right now. We have the runner-ups at the E.10 tournament, Rhode Island, coached by Hurley. Coach Hurley, gotta love him, man. Hurley brothers coaching in college basketball, going up against number 10 Oklahoma, who I'm not really sure how they really got in this tournament to begin with, but they're going up against number 10 Oklahoma. Mike, Oklahoma, 18-13 this season, finished behind Kansas State, TCU, and for the Big 12. Oklahoma State, can't say enough about their rival, what they did. A lot of people thought they should have been in the NCAA tournament. Most people at this point do believe that this is about Trae Young and the argument about Ben Simmons, a couple of years ago when the committee left Ben Simmons out of the tournament. LSU, even though LSU wasn't really qualified per se for the tournament, when Ben
they
Simmons,
declined. They declined in NIT that year. That was just a mess.
Me personally, when I looked at this game, I couldn't help but think about Ben Simmons. I do think this is all about Trae Young. I'd love to see Oklahoma come in and prove a lot of people wrong. Unfortunately, I do like Rhode Island in this game. They are coming off a conference title loss to Davidson, who put up a great run in the conference tournament, but this Rhode Island team has been here before. They were atop the A10 for most of the year, ranked for most of the year. A10 really isn't a joke. It's really no American. It's no ACC. It's sure as heck no Big 10, Big 12, anything like that. But when you really, really look at, A10, I really like that conference a lot. I like the ball Rhode Island's playing right now. They got a lot of size. They got guys who can shoot. Overall, I just don't think Oklahoma is a very exciting, explosive team. I honestly think Rhode Island could have a chance to really win this game by 20.
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part, but I think Oklahoma's going to win because I just feel like that one game, sort of Trae Young and the whole Oklahoma team, just really seeing a lot of shade thrown at them. So I just like Oklahoma to come out firing, and I really hate to say it because I'm not a huge Oklahoma guy this year, but I think Oklahoma does enough, comes out firing, and even though Rhode Island's pretty experienced, has some older upperclassmen guards, I just feel like Trae Young will drop a lot of points, and Oklahoma will find a way to at least win one game. I really do.
Yeah, I don't think any of these teams are really that good, and they're both coming off a pretty lazy end of the season. Rhode Island losing 3 of the last 6, and Oklahoma winning 1 game in February. It's not really a good time. I'm just going to go with Oklahoma for the win because, when I'm reading on Rhode Island, it doesn't really scare me. It's, they have a top 75 defense. It's like, or top, 75 to me doesn't sound like something that's really going to make an impact in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And, offensively, Oklahoma averages more than 70 points, which is what Rhode Island usually averages. So I don't think Rhode Island's going to be ready for Oklahoma's offense. And that's why Oklahoma's just going to take this one win.
Mm-hmm. All right, so how do you want to do this? You want to finish out the Midwest bracket, or just go all the way to the Final Four in the Midwest, and we'll just jump from bracket to bracket?
I'm loving it.
Yeah,
Round two, I love it. He's calling plays, guys.
Yeah, I think that since we're on in this bracket, it's easier to follow.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mike's having a confession in the booth right now. Mm-hmm. Mike confesses that he is better than both of us and would like to take over. So we're going to follow Mike's rules because apparently Mike's the coolest.
Okay, so since I'm the coolest, I'm taking charge. All of you guys are my de facto slaves.
Mike, can we do Duke Iona?
None of them know I'm actually the sponsor.
We can do Duke Iona.
I control.
Okay, do we even need to do Duke Iona? Let's be honest.
Can I note something about
Duke,
Iona?
baby?
So this is actually
boys.
This is actually their third straight year in the tournament. They shocked everyone. Won their conference tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Was the only way for them to get a bid. They're 20-13 right now. Nothing special. Duke lost to Mercer a couple years back. I'm not afraid to pick Iona in this game. Now, I'm not picking Iona to win. Let me make that clear. Duke's a very talented basketball team, and next season, frankly, I think they're going to be unfair. And I'm picking them to win this game. But if you really don't have a lot of upsets on your bracket right now and you feel like you got room to work with here,
you want to get risky.
Don't be afraid to take Duke out of this game right now.
I do feel like this is a year where there will be. I don't have a 15 seed knocking off a 2 because none of the matchups really scare me other than maybe Georgia State and Cincinnati. I really don't have a 15 seed knocking off a 2.
We're gonna get to Ron Hunter later.
Oh, Ron Hunter, you may be. You may be our last one because we may save the South for last because that might be the best one.
All right, so we're gonna move down here. Actually, Mike, you want to take this one, Kansas?
Yeah. Let's go to what the matchup I very very much want to talk about. Highly want to talk about Kansas Seton Hall. That's what I want to talk about in the second round. Okay. What we have? I
got the same thing. So
I have Kansas Seton Hall.
I actually have Kansas versus NC State.
Okay, Mass.
Okay,
that's interesting.
Okay, so Mass, tell me why this is going to be a good matchup, Kansas, NC State, and who do you have winning?
Well, okay, so I guess the reason why I think Kansas is going to win is because Kansas is just the primetime team.
Kansas is Kansas?
Kansas is Kansas.
Coming
from
off
what
a
I was
Big
saying
12
earlier.
title.
When I was talking about Penn, it's not really all Penn's fault. Kansas is just, it's going to happen again that Kansas is going to make it far. The reason why I have NC State making there is because, Seton Hall's not bad, but from what I've seen, and I haven't seen a lot, to be honest, so you can't really hold too much credibility to it, is that Seton Hall is an average team that seems to make upsets against teams that are either like close rivals or teams that they verse more frequently, like Villanova. So that's why I don't think Seton Hall is going to take it. So for this game, Kansas versus NC State, I don't think anyone should really expect anything too crazy. They should expect maybe another okay matchup. It's definitely going to be tougher than Penn, but I still see Kansas just winning it, kind of like a normal way.
All right, so we have Kansas Seton Hall. Who do you got?
All right, I got Kansas winning this game. Listen, what you get Kansas has 5 players averaging at least 12 points per game. I mean, that's one of the top offenses in the nation right now. I'm looking at Seton Hall, and when you really look at Kansas, with Devontae Graham, being the Big 12 Player of the Year in my opinion right now, I really see just an elite primetime team. It's Bill Self. Listen, Bill Self has been coaching in the Allen Fieldhouse since the dawn of time. This Kansas team, every single year, regardless of if they're a 1, 2, or 3 seed, you're always going to pick them to make it to at least the Elite 8. I'm going to tell you that, to at least the Elite 8. And when I really, there was that argument last year, if all else fails, pick the Big East. Listen, Seton Hall is 1-5 this season versus top 25 teams. Kansas is 4-1. All right, and they're coming off a Big 12 championship, played a great game versus West Virginia, but overall, you just overpowered West Virginia in the end. It was a great basketball game, though. I don't know if you watched that. I'm picking Kansas in this game solely based off the fact I don't think Seton Hall is going to have a response to any of those 5 players who are all each at least going to drop 10 points.
Okay. Yeah. I respect it. I have Kansas beating Seton Hall as well, moving on to the Sweet 16. But, God, I mean, you're with me while I was making the decision. I had a hard time picking Kansas over Seton Hall. It's just something about Seton Hall. It just really gives me confidence about them this year, and I'll harp on it again. Angel Delgado, and I think
this is their third consecutive, or
something like that. And if Azubuike is is injured, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. We'll just refer to him as him. If him is injured for Kansas, they're kind of vulnerable on the inside, and Angel Delgado can definitely take advantage of that and spark an upset. But I feel like he'll be ready. He's doubtful for the game against Penn. That's Buke, but he'll probably be ready for that game. And I just think Kansas will be too much to have some senior leadership, but Seton Hall can really make a run. They've been struggling as late, but they have the team to make a run, and it just seems like that 1-8 seed that might catch them fire.
I mean, we have to talk about finishes though. Seton Hall has lost 6 of their last 10 games. A conference round exit against Butler, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit coming up on the show. I don't think they really have any sort of momentum going into this game, let alone enough talent to really overpower Kansas. I'm sorry, I'm going with Kansas in this game.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Well, we're going to move down here. So Mike has Clemson-Charleston. I got Clemson-Auburn.
And you got, Mass?
I have New Mexico versus Auburn.
And this is excuse me, no, I have New Mexico State. What am I saying, Mike? Your bracket's screwing me up, Mike. You see what you're doing here, Mike?
Well, why? Because it's so beautifully written. Look at that. You look at that. You can't lie. I just have a couple. Well, I have a couple little mishaps because. All right, listen. I have a couple mishaps, but please forgive me because Cincinnati and Wichita are kind of hard to spell when you're writing really fast.
Right.
I'm sorry, because Cincinnati, 2 N's, 1 N, 2 T's, this, that, I don't know.
Here we go, same story. So I'm picking New Mexico State. Congratulations, New Mexico State. You're going to the Sweet 16.
Oh.
They're going against Auburn. I see a reflection of Clemson right now, the team that's really been banged up, not playing great basketball despite being at the top of the SEC for most of the regular season. New Mexico State, I love that tempo, man, and that defensive efficiency is unbelievable. For a team that you've probably never heard of going into this tournament, they rank in the top 20 in defense, considering the fact that they got 4 or 5 guys on that team that can score. Auburn's only got 2 or 3. I'm sorry, I love New Mexico State. Nothing's going to stop them.
I like Clemson because they don't give you a lot of opportunities to score points, and if Charleston beats Auburn and Clemson beats New Mexico State and they match up, Charleston's really going to need to score points, obviously, to win, because if you score more points, you win. We all know that. But Clemson does a good job of, making it hard on teams, and Clemson doesn't have that experience, but Clemson went through the ACC, I think, really got beat up this year. And I just like them as that one mentally tough team that can at least get themselves to the Sweet 16. So I like Clemson just to really fight their way through and be able to get a Sweet 16 berth, because it's doable. I mean, not the greatest matchups, but I just like the way how this Clemson team is just built, with their mental makeup, and I really think they have a chance that they can really seize an opportunity to squeeze their way into the Sweet 16. So I have Clemson for Kansas-Clemson Sweet 16 matchup in the Midwest. What do you have, Massimo?
I'm going to start hopping on some New Mexico State bandwagon, and it's honestly because Auburn, you kind of suck. No, I'm playing. In a more professional manner, you guys have not been doing it on offense, and you're allowing more points than opponents are starting to shoot better than you from the floor. So it's really just a matter of, is Auburn going to pick itself up? Is it gonna, and if it's so, are they gonna be able to continue that level in tougher games? They lost 4 of their last 6, and they're coming off an 81-63 loss against Alabama. So I'm gonna take that as, we kind of just lost it. We don't know what's going on. Yeah, New Mexico State's gonna get their 8th straight win, baby.
All right, well, we're gonna go down here to TCU, Michigan State. This one really had me thinking for a while. I really want to pick TCU in this basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give them the Tom Izzo benefit of the doubt here. I'm going with Michigan State in this game, Mike. Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm going Michigan State as well. Do not be surprised if TCU does find their way in the Sweet 16. I feel like there's a lot of 6 seeds we're talking about in this tournament, notably Houston, right, coming out of the American, Florida and Miami. But I feel like TCU is the one sort of going under the radar that can really surprise a lot of teams and maybe make a deep run. But I just think Michigan State and Miles Bridges is just going to continuously just be too much. So Michigan State punching their way to the Sweet 16.
Okay, moving down here. This one is really, really interesting. In fact, I think this may be the most interesting one we've had so far. I got Rhode Island winning that game. You have Oklahoma winning that game. So you got Oklahoma Duke here. I got Rhode Island Duke. Regardless, we're both going with Duke here. Tell me why you're going with Duke regardless.
I think Oklahoma's just winning that first game just because of pure fire, and just for some reason something's telling me they're going to come out and Trae Young's going to shoot 13 for 18 in the first half and all that. But as if Oklahoma moves on and plays Duke, I just think Duke will just be too much. Grayson Allen, a senior, I feel like he definitely has a lot to say in himself. He wants to prove himself as a non-dirty player after he's pretty much already screwed on that stereotype. But I think he really wants to make a mark on his Duke legacy in a very positive way in his last year. And I think Marvin Bagley is hearing a lot of the DeAndre Ayton talk and is saying, hey, what about me? I'm just as good, if not better. So I feel like him and Grayson Allen are both going to step up with something to prove. And I like Duke comfortably beating Oklahoma, moving on to get a nice little date with Michigan State. Get a reservation at your nearest Ruby Tuesdays.
Before we say anything else in this entire conversation we're about to have for the next 45 to 50 minutes, can I talk about one kid on New Mexico State right now? He has probably my favorite name in the entire tournament. His name is Jamario Jones. And ESPN.com calls him, quote-unquote, a walking double-double. In quotes, a walking double-double.
I love walking double-doubles.
I like a walking double-double. Regardless of the fact, I don't think a walking double-double can really overpower a number one Kansas team in this basketball game. Bill Self, congratulations. You're moving on to the Elite Eight. You're going to take on Duke in the next round. Heck of a run by New Mexico State. I really can't see them beating Kansas in this basketball game. I'm going to go once again right back to my prime argument here in the case that Kansas has 5 players who can really average a lot of points, slow the pace down. They're kind of the whole package. They ran the Big 12 this year, in my opinion. Really was a lot of great competition, but they prevailed. They're coming off a Big 12 championship. Strong team. Just too much for New Mexico State. Mm-hmm. Kansas wins that.
I think if Kansas is able to get through Penn, which they should, and Seton Hall, which they should, 2 teams that can really light the scoreboard up that Kansas can beat. I think if they move on from them, they'll have enough confidence. If they face a little bit of shorthanded Clemson team that really struggles to put the ball in the hoop, I just like Kansas. Especially Azubuike would be 10 times healthier because that would be the week after. This would be the second weekend now, so I just like Kansas. I feel like they'll definitely have things rolling by then. And Clemson, if honestly, just looking at my bracket, they're probably one of the worst Sweet 16 teams I have in there. So I just like Kansas to be able to handle them because Kansas versus Clemson is definitely easier than their first 2 matchups. I think either versus Penn or Seton Hall, in my opinion. Okay. So I like Kansas going on to the Elite Eight.
I got Duke being Michigan State, so right now it would be Duke and Kansas for me. Mike, you have in this game right now, remind me right now, you have Kansas and Duke too as well, correct?
Yep, Kansas and Duke. Okay. Yep, I think so. Does Matt? Yep, Massimo has Kansas and Duke. We all have Kansas and Duke.
We don't really need to give a really elaborate explanation here, but I'm going to go with Kansas in this game because I just think they're a better team when matched up versus Duke.
Mm-hmm. I like. Well, why do you have Duke beating Michigan State? Let's rewind for a second. Let's talk about that because this is a huge matchup. This is gigantic. Michigan State Duke.
Well, I'm going to go with Duke in this game just because they rank pretty evenly. They're 3-3 versus top 25s compared to a 2-4 record for Michigan State. When you really look at everything else, they're a pretty evenly matched team. But they had 4 losses this season. That were just really bad. Michigan State. They finished this season 29-4, but those 4 losses, were not great losses, and they can really expose this Michigan State team. Mm-hmm. Duke is at that point right now. Grayson Allen, whether you love or hate the dude, is having a big year. You can never really count out Marvin Bagley over there at Duke, and I just really think there's a lot more skill talent-wise, and I favor Duke more in this game than Michigan State because I truthfully just don't think it's that year that Michigan State makes a run in the tournament in comparison to all the other years.
Okay. All right. I like it. So, pretty much for the same reasons, I'm going on with Duke on top of the reasons I already said why they're beating Oklahoma with Grayson Allen and Bagley having something to prove. So we all 3 of us have Kansas and Duke in the Elite Eight. Me and Taylor, you have Kansas, right?
Yeah.
Me and Taylor have Kansas. Massimo has Duke. Why?
I'll tell you why.
Why do you want to be?
I'll gladly tell you why.
Why do you want to be weird and pick Duke?
Can I point something out before we go on? Michigan State had 4 losses this season. Guess what? One of those losses was to
who?
Duke. So something to consider. I'm just saying they played 1-on-1 this year. Duke beat them.
That could also be an advantage for Michigan State. They saw what didn't work. So
yeah, they see what didn't work. It could go both ways. I'm going with Duke.
Mass, why are you pissing me off and picking Duke?
Let me tell you about a man named Mike Krzyzewski. Alma mater, U.S. Military Academy.
No, Mike Wazowski.
Mike was that. Hold up now. Let me finish here. Let me tell you about this alma mater, U.S. Military Academy 69, all right? Let me tell you about this guy.
Tell me about him.
Not only has his team had the GOAT of all rosters for years now, not only has he been in the Final Four for 12 times and a national champion 5 times, but he is the epitome of what all coaches want to be. Other than John Calipari, I can't think of a single coach who rivals him in and talk about basketball, just NCAA. I can't think of any other head coach that brings the fierceness, the the gutsiness in the terms of
Chris Collinsworth's gutsiness.
Exactly. He's got it, baby. And that's why I got Duke boys. They're going to beat Michigan State. They're going to beat Oklahoma. And my boys at Kansas, listen, just because you really made me upset for beating my New Mexico State Aggies, I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You're going to get whooped by Duke, baby. Let's go.
So you have Duke in the Final Four, me and Taylor have Kansas. So everybody following at home, me and Taylor have Kansas. Massimo has Duke in his Final Four. That's the Midwest bracket. Taylor, where are we going next?
I'm feeling like the East. We're from there.
I was about to say, feeling the East. It's ending up in your home city of Boston.
Yeah. Everyone's from the East here. We're all very familiar with these parts, correct?
Yes.
So I feel like we should just, we've really adventured, but now we get to come home, get a home cooked meal.
This is the East bracket. Wait, hold on. I just got to say something real quick.
Yeah.
This is the East bracket.
Correct.
But they're playing games in San Diego.
Right. Mike, shh. Mike.
Did I spoil it?
We were talking brackets, Mike.
Did I spoil it?
You shouldn't have pointed that out.
Did I spoil it?
Mike, now they know.
I spoiled it.
Now it's just all ruined.
Now it's all ruined.
I think Taylor and I are just going to take over the show. We'll see you later.
Wow.
That's fine. I'm actually kind of hungry now anyway. I'm going to go to Wendy's. I'll be
right back. Well, speaking of home-cooked meals, I got a home-cooked team playing 4 hours south of me right now. They got their first NCAA tournament win ever. The Radford Highlanders going up against the 1 seed 2016 national champions Villanova Wildcats. So, Mike, here we are again. 16 versus 1.
All right.
Here we are.
We're talking about Virginia Tech, Alabama now because Villanova's winning.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm picking Villanova to win the game. Here we are again. Listen, Radford's got a lot of guys who can move the ball, but they play in the Big South, and Villanova's straight up just robots. And Jay Wright, I'm sorry, Basketball Hall of Fame.
Who's stopping
Jalen Brunson? Jalen Brunson. Yeah. So that's about that.
That's all we need to say.
Any disagreements here, Mass? Got anything for me?
Nah.
All right. Well, we're moving on then. We're moving on to the big one. Actually, can I take the reins here? Because I
go ahead, take the reins because I think Massimo is going to pull back from those reins any second.
I want to take the reins here because 8-9 matchups may possibly be my favorite matchups in the entire tournament.
They're the best matchups.
It's a heck of a matchup. I mean, you said it best, Mike. If Colin Sexton drops 30-something points tomorrow, Alabama's winning the
Alabama can really beat anybody, including Villanova if Colin Sexton wants to.
But this Virginia Tech team is well coached. Well coached.
Yes.
And they've beaten Virginia, Duke, and UNC.
Yep.
This year. And honestly, I got UNC making a deep run in this. Obviously, I got Duke losing to Kansas.
Yep.
I got Virginia losing to Arizona. Regardless, all those teams are making it past the first 2 rounds. So when we're comparing these two teams, I got a team going up against Alabama who's beaten 3 teams that I have moving past the first 2 rounds. That to me shows that they can not only play with the big boys, but that they've proven in big-time situations they can step up. I like Virginia Tech a lot in this game. They play in the ACC. They have a lot of big wins on their resume this year. Alabama's great, sure, but if they can contain Colin Sexton, Petty doesn't really drop more than 15 points. Talking here, personally, maybe I'm a little bit biased towards Alabama. I don't think they're a really insanely awesome team to watch outside of Colin Sexton and Petty. I think their hair is awesome. I think they have very nice hair. Like VCU last year, they had the nicest hair in the tournament. I think that could be Alabama this year. They may have the nicest hair. They got that going for them. Nonetheless, though, I'm picking Virginia Tech in this game. I think this is going to be an awesome game. In fact, I think everyone at home should tune into this game. But I think the key here is containing Colin Sexton. Virginia Tech has proven that they can contain star players before. Virginia Tech in this game by 4. Mike, you're really, really feeling. You are extreme. You were talking a lot about this Alabama team, man. They've really emerged a lot this season. A couple years back, Alabama's program was on the verge of irrelevant. Mike, why do you think Alabama in this game can overpower a team that's proven that they can beat big boys this season, Mike? 21-11 Virginia Tech.
Because in college basketball, you can get away with one player carrying everything. Just ask Oklahoma how the hell they're in this tournament right now. One player can carry you places, and I'm not a huge fan of Alabama, but I just think Colin Sexton has the ability where he can just go off. Virginia Tech, can be a little vulnerable on the defensive end, and I think Colin Sexton, if he wants to go out there and drops 45 points, it's going to be hard to overcome that here for Virginia Tech. So I think that's how Alabama beats Virginia Tech, only if Colin Sexton goes off. But I just can't see that. I just don't like how the way this Alabama team's been trending lately. I really like the way Virginia Tech's been playing. They can really shoot the lights out of the ball. I mean, it's insane. They average damn near 80 points per game. So they're a really good offensive team, and I just like Virginia Tech as that one team that can really just shoot 65% in a game, and there's really nothing you can do. You just got to put your hands up and be like, oh well. And I really think that's it. So I got Virginia Tech taking this game, honestly.
All right. Well, we're gonna move down here.
We are not going to move down. Sorry. I didn't want to do that.
We're not Mass,
because Mass has Bama, and that gets you mad.
Wait.
He has Bama, and I know that gets you mad.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So this entire time, I thought you were sitting on the east side of the wall, but really you were trying to mess with the west side.
Yeah. I'm going to go north side.
North side?
North side.
You know what? It's pretty cold up there, pretty chilly. I just turn my heat up. I'll be all good. Get myself a furnace. But no, seriously, you guys basically both kind of encapsulated it. I'm going to just go. This one's kind of just a hard one. It's really just like pick a team. And I really do think Colin Sexton is actually just going to come out and just pop 35 out of nowhere. Yeah. And that's what I believe will happen. And if I'm wrong, then Virginia Tech wins, and that'll be the end of it, and I'll shut my mouth forever. And I'll buy myself a Virginia Tech bathrobe. But no, I'm just going to go with Bama. I like Colin Sexton, and I like Petty, and I think they're going to take the win.
All
okay.
Right. Well, first off, before we get to Murray State and West Virginia, by the way, Murray State back in the tournament this year, this game is in the East bracket, Mike?
Yes.
So can someone tell me why we're playing this game at San Diego State?
Isn't San Diego State like east of Tokyo? I think that's what the East bracket is, right? I think you got to be east of Tokyo. I think that's all it is.
The Vihas, I don't know. I got a friend that goes there. You could probably pronounce it for me. The Vihas Center in San Diego. That's where SDSU plays basketball. That's where
it's probably the Vihas.
That is where they play their home hoops. So I don't know why this game's being played in the East. Listen, West Virginia throughout the years has been known as that team that's always really ranked high, but comparative, very similar to Virginia. You can never trust them.
You can't beat anybody.
If it's going to be one year, though, I think it's going to be this year. A lot of people are really picking Murray State to win in this game, but the Mountaineers really fell down. They lost 5 of 6 games this year. It looks like they were going to collapse. Bob Huggins had that whole mental breakdown on the court. Dave Portnoy covered it, saying, book it, West Virginia tournament champions after that. They've really, really picked it back up. Senior guard Javon Carter, he's averaging 17 points a game. He's the backbone of the entire team. When you really look at their defense, they rank really high in efficiency, can slow down the game. Murray State, to me, listen, I'm going to look at Murray State this season, and when they rank against the top 25 team, they played one and they lost it. West Virginia at least just went to a Big 12 championship. Yeah, they went to a Big 12 championship. Could have beat Kansas, in my opinion. Played a great game against Kansas. I got a lot of love down there at WVU, so honestly, I'm going with WVU in this game. I'm not even going to hesitate on this one.
I got a lot of love with West Virginia, but it feels like every year I have West Virginia at least making a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 run, but I have them going to my Sweet 16, West Virginia, but I just like it pretty much for the reasons you said. Their defense is ferocious like it is every year, but Javon Carter, they have a lot of older pieces on that team this year, so I just like West Virginia to be able to figure it out, put it together. I really don't think they have a Final Four run in them, while they sure as hell have a great shot, and I think a better chance than a lot of people are giving them. But I think West Virginia, I definitely like them to come out of the first round and come out of the first weekend alive and booking a trip together.
Okay, so
later.
This next, unless Mass, do you have anything to say?
No, we're West Virginia. We're all good.
We're West Virginia. Okay, so this next matchup, we were having a talk. We got 3 teams representing the American Conference this year. That's Houston, Cincinnati, Wichita
and all
State.
3 of them we have in our Final Fours.
No.
Oh, what? No, I thought that's what.
What? I have Cincinnati in my Final Four. I have Cincinnati in my Final Four.
Yeah.
Wait. I have Cincinnati. Listen, I never once said Houston or Wichita State was going to
I thought this was the American Conference
Houston
show.
and Wichita State were put on the list of specifically don't RSVP to the Final Four.
Oh, so we're not doing this for the
baseball. What? Where am I now?
Okay, listen. I'm talking a lot of people have been saying Marshall can upset Wichita State in this game. I think Wichita State's going to get the first kick out of this tournament in the entire American Conference. Wichita State's not a very good basketball team, and I'm just gonna say it. And maybe I'm salty because we played them 3 times this year, beat them the first, gave them the second. Well, let's just call it gave them the third too while we're at it. Listen, Wichita State's a strong team. They got Shaq Morris, they got Landry Shamet. I like him to go against Marshall because, Mike, you really said it best. No one's really going to guard Shaq Morris.
Yeah.
And Temple I'm going to say it, they had a lot of downs this year, but they did a great job of guarding Landry Shamet when they went up against him. and he still dropped 20-plus points a game. I don't see really anyone on Marshall who's going to be able to shut him down.
Yeah, I mean, Marshall's coming in hot, but, a big consistency that I've been seeing, just looking through their game stats, just reading up about them, they're kind of weak inside and guarding the paint, and really Shaq Morris is definitely probably a top 5 player when it comes to scoring in the paint and around the bucket. So I really think Wichita State won't have to rely on Larry Shamet, which would definitely help them in a later matchup, when they beat Marshall and go into West Virginia, having Larry Shamet, not having to carry load against Marshall. It'll be more so Shaq Morris, but I think Shaq Morris would be just too much for Marshall inside, and that gives Wichita State definitely an easy first round win.
Okay, so for this next matchup, because I kind of just have my one spotlight here.
Go ahead. It's all on you. I'm gonna watch the game.
Oh, that's right. We got Temple on right now. What's the score, by the way?
I think we're winning.
Are we winning?
It says on ESPN. No, ESPN's on load. Okay, I get you.
I think we're up 7-4.
Yep, we're winning 7-4. Yep, we are winning 7-4.
All right. So this next game, I've really, really wanted to talk about this game all day. I'm extremely passionate about this. I got St. Bonaventure at the number 11 seed upsetting Florida 6. In fact, I'd book it right now because I actually think there's no doubt in my mind when reading up on this team that St. Bonaventure is going to beat Florida right now.
Okay.
Almost every year, at least one team who wins a play-in game, and Tony Kornheiser said it today on PTI, wins at least 2 games.
I wrote it down in my notebook, too, by the way.
You wrote it down, too?
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Gosh, we both thought it.
Yes.
All right.
We're like friends.
Bonaventure's led by elite guard play in Jalen Adams and Matt Mobley, in addition to Courtney Stockard. They looked excellent against UCLA, a team that really emerged late in the season in the Pac-12. When we look at Florida, listen, they didn't really have, the best quadrant 2 and 3 record. We're talking about the quadrant system this year. They were 6 and 7 combined versus quadrant 2 and 3 teams. When we look at them against a quadrant 1 team, though, they're 9 and 5. And this is very interesting to me. It's a very Temple type formula. They play up against these really good teams, but when they play these lower tier quadrant teams, they're not very successful. They're 6 and 7. Well, when we really look at the Gators in the nation, and this is astonishing, in the nation they rank at 326 in consistency. And that's a formula that the NCAA statisticians use to compile stats, everything. Florida is one of the worst teams in America when playing consistently. Ring, Temple, who's on right now. They're up 8-4.
Wow.
Look at Go Ernest. Wow.
Go, no, yeah, sure. Let's go, Ernest.
Come on, Obi, make it. Obi just made it 3. Anyway.
Well, Taylor.
I just, listen, when I look at Florida, there's no consistency. Early exit in the conference tournament. I love the fact that St. Bonaventure, I honestly, you're going to call me crazy, I think they have the edge in this game. And not a lot of people are even going to really realize that because it's 11 versus 6. I think no doubt in my mind, I don't like Florida at all this year. Nothing about Florida really flashes me. It's not like we're talking about mid-2000s, Final Four, Florida, Billy Donovan age. No, we're talking about Florida in 2018. St. Bonaventure is going to take them to town. Yeah,
St. Bonaventure, I honestly don't think they have the edge playing Florida, but they definitely have a good shot. One big problem they have is depth. They really don't have a lot of experience. You don't have a lot of bench players getting considerable floor minutes, but other than that, I just like St. Bonaventure, being able to beat UCLA, and their coach said, it was such a great game for the program, even though it was a first 4 game, to be able to beat UCLA. Even though it wasn't Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all that. We heard this around the horn. They were very happy to beat UCLA. And I just like St. Bonaventure coming in, having a playing game, having a game under their belt. They're sort of already into this. They got their shoulders all loose and everything because, they got their first game out of the way. So I just like seeing St. Bonaventure's to come in and really shock Florida because St. Bonaventure's has been one of those teams, all year that's been kind of underrated. So I like St. Bonaventure's to pull it out against a really, really kind of average Florida team that really hasn't really found their identity this year, in my opinion.
I think TFL needs a marketing switch. So last year we said if all else fails, Big East. If all else fails, E.10. Except not really because we have Rhode Island losing to Duke. But if all else fails, I guess in this situation, go with St. Bonaventure. I do think St. Bonaventure is winning this basketball game, though. I've been very passionate. I'm sticking by that.
Okay, now it's my turn.
You got this
for
one.
the spotlight.
This is all Mike. Turn. This is all Mike. All Mike.
My turn for the spotlight. Let me tell you a little something about Stephen F. Austin. They got a 2-3 overall, record in the NCAA tournament, but they've had upsets before. They've been a double-digit seed. They've been here. They've done that. Texas Tech, you've had a basketball program? I didn't even know that, to be honest. I didn't even know Texas Tech had a basketball
October, November.
Program. Oh, Quentin.
He missed an alley-oop.
Come on.
I told you there's going to be points in this show where we're going to be in the middle of Stephen F. Austin and Quentin Rose is going to miss an alley-oop.
Come on. But I just Texas Tech, they're they're a really good team. They played kind of well in the Big 12 tournament, but Stephen F. Austin, man, they're a good offensive team. They really don't rely on individual skill sets. They more so rely on being a team. They're very good at moving the ball. They're very good at running sets, organizing sets, coming into transition if they don't get a bucket right away, getting into sets and making sure they can get a good shot off before their 30-second shot clock expires. So I like Stephen F. Austin. They have some experience. They have a really good shot at beating a Texas Tech team. Sort of struggled of late. Really started out good in the beginning of the year. Really has been up and down lately. So Stephen F. Austin, they only give up 68 points per game. Texas Tech gives up 64, but Stephen F. Austin leads the nation in turnover ratio. Yeah. So I like Stephen F. Austin come out in this game, give it to Texas Tech, who really, honestly, Stephen F. Austin has more tournament experience than Texas Tech. And honestly, I really like Stephen F. Austin coming in this game. They pulled off one upset, in 2 of the years they've been in this tournament. So they can easily do it again against really a Texas Tech team who I really want to consider this an upset against. I have Stephen F. Austin moving on, playing St. Bonaventure in a round of 32.
I think this is going to be a very sloppy game. Both teams
going to be ugly as heck.
Both teams really haven't flashed. Like you said, Mike, October, November, I looked at Texas Tech and I said, this team has a shot to win the Big 12. A lot different now, though. I mean, when you really look at it, all Stephen F. Austin really has to do is limit Keenan Evans. Because Keenan Evans, regardless of how Texas Tech has been, Keenan Evans has been phenomenal this year. If we really look at this team, if they can really limit it, it's going to fall on, freshman Jarrett Culver. It's going to fall on Zari Smith, and Texas Tech is really going to look for that bailout. And if they can't get that, I truthfully think Stephen F. Austin's going to take this game, grab the pace, and squish it into a little ball.
Yeah, it's Stephen F. Austin's fourth time being in this tournament in the last decade, and 2 of those times they've had upset wins.
Right.
The last 5 years.
Yeah. So
just to go even more.
Stephen F. Austin definitely is capable of pulling off the upset wins. We've seen it twice before, so I think this is very much a game where Stephen F. Austin has a incredible shot of winning.
Right into this one, 10 versus 7. Butler over Arkansas, no doubt. Butler. I'm sorry.
Butler
has won.
Butler's Big East, right?
They've won.
All else fails. Big East.
They've won each of their last 6 first-round games in the NCAA tournament. While prior experience does really not make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things. It sure as heck helps. Like you said, man, 5 of their last 6 in the first round. Butler really doesn't lose often in the first round of NCAA tournaments. When I look at Arkansas, they're a very good team, but it's going to be high pace. It's going to be high scoring. Butler doesn't really rank too high in pace when you compare the 2 teams, but they're not really afraid, especially in the NCAA tournament, to really come out firing, really get a lot of firepower behind them, light it up. Big East, it doesn't matter if they're 20 and 13. I'm sorry. Butler's always a really good basketball program, always a really, really good school. If you look at Arkansas, they're 3 and 7. They both struggled mightily in home gyms, but when you really think about this game in the grand scheme of things, I'm going to talk about Michigan here playing in Detroit. For Butler, they're a lot closer to home than Arkansas is to, Arkansas. Exactly. So there's a bit of an adverse effect there. Like I said, Butler doesn't lose very often in first-round games. I like Butler a lot in this.
I like Butler too. Just really, I'm not going to reiterate everything you said because I don't feel like sitting here for the next 3 hours. But I like Butler over Arkansas. I really don't trust Arkansas this time of year. They really definitely can catch some fire. They've had some scores that can really go off. But I just like Butler. They're too sound for me not to pick them in a first round matchup.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to move down here. Next one, Purdue, CSF. No doubt in my mind. I got Purdue actually going to the Final Four.
Purdue.
Yeah, there's really too much to debate there. Yeah. I'm going to be honest. So we're going to move back up here. Villanova, Virginia Tech. I think this can be a very close game. In fact, I think this can be quite competitive, but no one's slowing down Jalen Brunson on Virginia Tech.
This is a matchup that's exactly like Villanova versus NC State that one year, 2015. We're actually looking at that bracket.
When NC State messed it all up.
Because that was a game where I'm just pulling up the exact numbers for you so I can really help you out. But that was a game where NC State, where they shoot from the field. Yeah, NC State shot 24 for 53 from the field. So this is a game where really, honestly, it was sort of can be like NC State where Virginia Tech can just come out. I reiterate how they're a really good shooting team, and that's how they really beat Virginia. So Virginia Tech can easily come out in this game and just really shoot like 60% in the first half and just really put Villanova back on the wall and put themselves in for a good shot of winning in the second half. But I don't. I just trust Villanova too much with seniors Jalen Brunson. I just trust Villanova too much to not let Virginia Tech just shoot the lights out against them. Yeah. So I like Villanova in this matchup. I just think Virginia Tech just has too much on their plate, even though they have a hell of a shot in beating them just from pure capability of them being able to be hot any given night.
So I liked a lot of what West Virginia showed me in the conference tournament. I feel like if they didn't really have that deep run in the conference tournament, I wouldn't really trust them in this situation. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to pick them 5/4 here. They're playing Wichita State, so this would send them to the Sweet 16. I said earlier in the show I think Wichita State will make the earliest exit out of any team in the American Conference. West Virginia, to me, if they can limit Landry Shamet, they're golden. Completely golden. Because Shaq Morris can't do it all. I mean, he's a big body guy, but when you really look at this team in the grand scheme of things, I think West Virginia can overpower.
Yeah, I think West Virginia definitely has too much for Wichita State because Wichita State really struggles in defending a three and really defending overall. So I think if Wichita State is able to catch fire, especially against Wichita State, I really can't see Wichita State being able to overcome that. Javon Carter, West Virginia, and that physical defense is just way too much. And I think we're all in agreement here. We got West Virginia moving to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Mass, listen, one of these days I'm going to get you a sponsorship with Dunkin' Donuts, and you will never, ever come tired of the show over again.
I would prefer Yum Yums.
Yum Yums?
Yum Yums.
You like Krispy Kreme? Like Krispy Kreme coffee?
I've never tried it.
Never tried it?
Krispy Kreme coffee? I've had Krispy Kreme donuts.
You ever had their coffee?
Nah.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
You know who has actually pretty good coffee? Don't judge. Cinnabon.
I got Nova beating Bama, by the way.
Nova beating Bama? Are you serious or are you just bragging me right now?
No, I'm serious.
You're serious.
Nova's going to be they're going to start losing the game a little bit in the first half, and they're going to realize, wait, guys, we can't lose until the Sweet 16 yet. And they'll be like, That's right. All right, guys, let's actually try. Right. So they're going to win the game.
Massimo, I'm just peeking over, being a little nosy guy over here, and I see you have one certain team that me and Taylor do not like. Texas Tech will be in the next matchup. Me and Taylor we're going to move on to. Why do you have Texas Tech? Moving on to the Sweet 16.
So I know earlier I was talking about Hungry Dogs.
Hungry Dogs.
St. Bonaventure definitely is a hungry team, but they're full. They just got their first tournament, this is their first time being in since 1970.
With Bob Lanier.
So what I'm just trying to say is that St. Bonaventure's full. Florida's still got a little more. The Gators can still get a little bit more, but again, it's. A lot of people are saying that Bonaventure can get the upset because Florida's not doing good. But at the same time, Florida did beat Kentucky twice, and they were the SEC tournament champion. The only reason people don't really like Florida is because they had a really ugly loss to Arkansas, and Arkansas sucks, and that's okay. We can do that. But people are forgetting the fact they also beat Auburn and Alabama, who are ranked 4 and 9 in their respective brackets. So what I'm trying to say is that Florida shouldn't necessarily be looked down upon. I don't know why people are going yeah, they suck, bro. Not really.
All right, well, we don't care what he said anymore.
Okay, so a matchup I want to move on to here is St. Bonaventure, Stephen F. Austin. Mike, I'm thinking about pulling ship here at the last second. I'm pulling on St. Bonaventure, but I'm going to stick with Stephen F. Austin here solely based off the fact that I think they're a bit more grittier.
Yes.
A little more gutsiness.
A lot more gutsiness, as Chris Collinsworth said.
You love this Stephen F. Austin team.
Oh, my God. Dude, my high school basketball team ran their offense. I love Stephen F. Austin.
I'm letting you talk here because this is not my part of the show here.
I just like the organization of Stephen F. Austin. I just like their overall background of the program, I just love it, man. I just want to have me a big bowl of Stephen F. Austin, man. That's all I want.
Do you and the coaching staff go to Applebee's?
Yeah. They give me gift cards from time to time.
Eating good in the neighborhood, man.
Can I be honest? I don't really even know why I picked Texas Tech over Stephen F. Austin. It's kind of just pick a team. It's when you're playing Pokemon and they tell you, pick your guy. I don't know.
Pick your guy.
I don't know. Half the time you're
pick your guy.
And a little side note, Stephen F. Austin is in Texas.
I feel like Mike low-key supports Stephen F. Austin. He's probably a booster.
Stephen F. Austin is in Texas, and they're playing in Dallas, so that could be a benefit to Stephen F. Austin. I'm a Temple student. I just like Stephen F. Austin. I like Lumberjacks, but I like Stephen F. Austin
jump
over St. Bonaventure. I don't think St. Bonaventure has enough size to really deal with the physicalness that Stephen F. Austin presents.
But they clearly have the better logo.
Who?
St. Bonaventure.
St. Bonaventure, I think, has top 5 swag in this tournament.
What if we did a logo off? A logo tournament.
Honestly, we saw that after the show. Let's make a bracket based on tournament, based on logos. Then we'll make a bracket based on swag.
Okay.
I mean, I'm down with
I'm
that.
down for that. Meet me outside.
Yeah.
All right, guys,
do
we'll
it.
see you next week. Just
Meet
playing.
me outside.
All right, so we both have Stephen F. Austin winning. So now we're to Mr. Disappointment and Mr. Consistency, Butler versus Purdue.
Okay, I'm going with Purdue here, and obviously I said at the beginning of the show I got Purdue going to the Final Four. I think Isaac Haas too much way inside. I don't think I don't think Butler can stop that size, and they sure as heck can't slow down that offense.
It's the exact same thing. I just think Isaac Haas is too much. It's really the same thing I'll say about Arizona and DeAndre Ayton in a little bit, but I just think for Purdue, Isaac Haas is too much. Butler isn't as formidable as they've been, so I just like Purdue to be able to easily get to the Sweet 16.
I don't think they have the magic to overcome Isaac Haas and Carson Edwards, who are both averaging 15 plus a game right now.
Yeah.
I don't think that's possible.
Yep.
No. All right, so we're going to move down here now.
Nova and West Virginia.
Shoot down. Actually, can we take a break here for a second?
Okay.
Well, exhale. I feel like we've been moving kind of fast here because we're really getting into this. We still got 2 more regions, boys.
Yeah, we still got 2 more regions. We only got a couple more games in this region, though. Then we can really take our main break.
We're going to slow down. We're going to slow down the pace here, and then once we clear out this region, we're going to go to a commercial because I know Mike needs to go to the bathroom.
I need to go to the bathroom, and I'm low-key thinking about running out getting some food real quick.
And some food. I mean, hey, maybe I'll catch a couple minutes of this Temple game right now. We are winning.
Yeah, and Quentin just had a dunk. Yeah, go Quentin.
All right, so we're going to talk here, Mike. Purdue, Stephen F. Austin. No offense, man. I'm thinking Purdue, no doubt in my mind.
I'm thinking Purdue, but not no doubt in my mind because, as you said, Edwards on Purdue, they have to get the ball inside the Haas. Isaac Haas isn't bringing the ball up himself. So I think Stephen F. Austin, the way they turn over the ball, the way they press you on defense, they play deny everywhere. So they make you make the perfect pass. So Stephen F. Austin can definitely shock Purdue in a way they can just make it too hard for Purdue because Purdue's had it fairly easy for majority of this season. Really, just Isaac Haas, he's really big. Yep, here's a little easy pass. So I think Stephen F. Austin has the ability to get after it, but I just think Purdue is too much. But Stephen F. Austin and Purdue would be a very good game because Stephen F. Austin plays really close with opponents. It's gonna be hard fought, but I think Purdue barely squeaks it out. Barely.
All right, so we're gonna go up here to Villanova, West Virginia. Probably the best matchup we've had.
Honestly, yes.
Honestly,
this bracket's just filled with great matchups. Really, if we get Butler, Purdue, if we get Stephen F. Austin, St. Bonnie, just Stephen F. Austin, Texas Tech's a very good matchup. Really 2 defensive teams. I mean, 100%. It's just a lot to Virginia Tech, Alabama. All this, man, I love it.
Villanova did not lose a single game versus a top 25 ranked opponent this year.
No, they did not.
I think in comparison to West Virginia, they're better coached. They got Jalen Brunson, so there's 2 bubble points right there for you. And my third and final bubble point is if Villanova gets hot, this West Virginia team's not going to have a lot to really stop.
Exactly. That's the big thing. West Virginia, they press on you. They want to get you to force turnovers on your own side, in the backcourt. That they want to get easy layup buckets. And I think this press really won't phase Jalen Brunson and the likes of, those experienced point guards Villanova has and ball handlers. So I just like Villanova, and I know Mass, again, hates us.
Again.
So you have West Virginia over Nova. Please explain to me why.
Because it's the Sweet 16, baby. Come on, guys. You know Nova doesn't win past the Sweet 16.
Oh my gosh, 2016.
And West Virginia
2016.
does.
It's a buzzer beater. Ring your brain there, buddy.
One buzzer beater.
One.
Is basically...
Jay Wright?
Okay, listen. I lived in Pennsylvania all my life, and there's one thing I can tell you, is that you can usually expect the same thing to occur over and over again. It's what we call insanity, right?
Yes.
I went through the Andy Reid era.
Oh.
We've went through... the Flyers.
All we need to go through is the Andy Reid era. That's all you need to say.
Other than the exclusion of 2 good Phillies years, everything has just been completely average and mostly predictable. So I don't know what it is. I just got West Virginia winning it. Nova's good and all, but I don't know. I don't know Nova.
West Virginia definitely can get ahead of Nova, and then say they get Amari Spellman or Michael Bridges in foul trouble. That could be a real benefit to West Virginia. So it really depends how West Virginia can shoot the ball because the defense will be there. It's just can they keep up with Nova on the scoring end because Nova's going to be able to score. It's just can West Virginia score with them because they're not going to be able to get everything on defense. So for that reason, I'm going Villanova.
Villanova rarely ever goes to the free throw line.
So for our first 2 regions, we've had 1-2, 1-2 Elite 8 matchups. So we've been pretty basic so far, but I think we've done a good job of incorporating a nice amount of upsets and whatnot. So we have Villanova, Purdue, playing in a Beantown. I'm presuming the TD Garden. They'll be playing in.
I presume so. Yes.
Yeah, I mean it'll be a regional final. So we have Villanova, Purdue. You have Villanova, Purdue, right? Right. Oh no, you have West Virginia. You have West Virginia, Purdue. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with Purdue here because when the two teams really match up, I think Purdue has a little bit more size, although Villanova is very big themselves. And
yes.
I think up until this game, Villanova, and we discussed this, maybe haven't discussed it as much as other things, but they truly do, in my opinion, have the easiest road to the tournament. I think up until this point, Villanova isn't really facing a strong, all-around tough team, and this is really going to be their first matchup because Purdue can kind of do it all. And, I mean, despite not winning the E.10 tournament this year, they really put up a good fight. And I've loved what I've seen all season. A lot of people are really counting in Purdue this year, saying it's their year. And when we match up, not to back up Mass, but I think this is actually a prime position for Villanova to really get overwhelmed here a little too much. I think Purdue can win this game by 3 points.
Okay, I want to get myself stuck in between a Purdue sandwich right now because I know Massimo has Purdue, so I'm going Villanova. And here's my prediction for this game if Villanova and Purdue match up. The inside presence of Michael Bridges and Amari Spellman, while they are smaller than Isaac Haas, they're not just as big or anything, but they're physical. They take it to your chest. And I believe they will get Isaac Haas in foul trouble this game, and that's the reason they will beat Purdue. Because I think Jay Wright is smart. I think Jay Wright would be like, okay, Jalen Brunson, we're going to save you for the second half. First half, we're pounding the ball inside. I don't care how big Isaac Haas is. Get him in foul trouble, go into his chest, be smart with the ball, do what you have to do, and I think Villanova will be able to get him in foul trouble, and they will move on past Purdue, and they will notch themselves a Final Four ticket where they will play Kansas.
Okay, so that about does it from those first two brackets right now. So can we recap a little bit here? I got Purdue. I got Kansas. Mike's got Kansas and Villanova.
I got Kansas and Nova.
I got Purdue and Duke.
Purdue and Duke. Wow.
Purdue.
That was a lot to take in the first half, but overall I'm feeling pretty good, gentlemen. How are you feeling so far?
I'm feeling solid. One thing I look at, this is my main thing with brackets, I look at the seeds I have in the Sweet 16 because that's when you usually get your 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
I try to not always have 1, 2, 3, 4. It really never turns out to be 1, 2, 3, 4. The only thing with my bracket that really, I don't have enough of non-1, 2, 3, or 4 seeds in all my brackets. I have at least 3 of the top 4 seeds moving on to the Sweet 16. That's usually one benchmark I usually keep for my bracket. That's why I've never gotten a perfect bracket right, and that's why I've never been perfect out of the first day or anything. But that's just one thing I look at. But looking overall, I really think we all have our solid share of brackets and fair share of arguments that I really like besides Massimo.
We're going to have a lot more arguments coming up here. We still got 2 more regions to go.
Oh, yeah, we still have the slaughterhouse that Virginia's in.
We still have the slaughterhouse.
Please, just ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned until we get to the West, and that's when things are going to get very spicy.
Yeah, it's actually going to get really spicy in the West. It's going to get really spicy.
We're going all the way back, LA story, baby. We're going to live the dream here, take it down to hot Atlanta. When we get back from this commercial break, after this, we're going to be discussing the rest of our bracket. Stay tuned.
Face it.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Took a quick lunch break. Our boys got some Chipotle tonight. That was the big decision for dinner. Gentlemen, how are we feeling about our dinner selection tonight?
I am expletive love Chipotle.
Expletive love Chipotle. Love it. Oh, he loves it. Mike, what are your thoughts on Chipotle?
I'm still a little skeptical. I mean, for like...
A little skeptical?
All right. I have to pay an extra $1 just to get steak. Okay, that's fine.
They do
listen, they don't give me any meat on this. I have more rice than steak. I have more lettuce than steak. I have more cheese than steak. I quite frankly, have more salsa than steak. I have more everything than steak.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm working with for the first half of this show. I was drinking a nice cold Barks root beer. Ran out of that, so I had to take a trip to the watering fountain. And I must say, it's not that the water is not delicious. It's just a little bit run down with vanilla root beer. So for the remainder of the show now, I got to kind of work with this like water with a background of vanilla root beer. So I feel like we all kind of have a handicap, ladies and gentlemen. If you could kind of just bear with us for the rest of the show, this is going to be hard on us. I mean, it's going to take some time. Slow and steady, but we'll get there. Slow and steady. Hey, we just ended our bracket up in Beantown. We went from the Midwest to the East. Recapping what we have, I have Kansas going to the Final Four, going on against Purdue. Mike has Villanova going to the Final Four, going up against Kansas. Mass, you want to reiterate what you have in your Final Four there, buddy?
My Final Four, I got Purdue against Duke, baby.
Yeah, Purdue against Duke. All right, so a little bit different. Me and Mass both agree on Purdue. Here's where it's going to get a little bit interesting, though, because we're in the West now. We're actually playing games in a town that's on the West Coast this time.
Wait, what?
In Los Angeles.
No.
Yes.
No.
Finally. We get a region of the bracket that actually makes sense. And the first game that we're going to start out here with is Xavier playing game North Carolina Central going up against Texas Southern. That'll be decided tonight. North Carolina Central is a very interesting basketball team. I was actually reading up a little bit about them prior to the show. Not interesting enough for me to beat Xavier, though. Sure as heck not interesting enough as a 16 seed to beat Xavier. I'm picking Xavier decisively in this game. In fact, I think Xavier is going to make a pretty deep run in this tournament. Not quite Final Four, but I got him in my Elite Eight. Mike, what's your thoughts on Xavier going up against the number 16 seed North Carolina Central here?
Well, I think they got an easy victory. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Xavier for no reason. They still got like Trayvon Blewett. They still have some very solid pieces. So Xavier's still Xavier. I don't know why everybody's sleeping on them. Just because they're the worst 1 seed doesn't mean they're not a good team. So I like Xavier as well.
All right. Well, I honestly, it's funny because right before this show, I was thinking a lot about the Big East last year, and none of us have Xavier going to the Final Four despite being a 1 seed. We're going to get to that a little bit further in the show. Something to note, though, when it really comes down to it, why we truly think Mike has Ohio State over Xavier later on. But we're going to move on to our next matchup here.
So do I. Don't worry, Mike. You're not alone.
He's not alone. Hey,
alone, baby.
Next matchup here, this one's also interesting. Temple took on Florida State 2 years ago, beat Florida State. Haven't really heard a ton from them this year. Going up against, quote-unquote, healthy Missouri basketball team. Quote-unquote healthy, meaning Michael Porter Jr. is going to apparently take on the Florida State basketball team. Single-handedly is what people expect. So, Mike, do you think Missouri has any shot of beating Florida State in this game?
I quite frankly don't. Honestly, this is my least favorite of the 8-9 matchups.
It's really poor.
Because really, I would like to see Michael Porter Jr. I want to see what he has to offer because he's going to be in the NBA next year. But, he's just starting to play for Missouri, so...
Do you think he should go to the NBA next year? Seriously, this is a whole nother debate we can have. Quick, though. Yes or no? I say no.
I say yes.
Really? I say absolutely.
If he was in a better basketball program, I say no, but he's at Missouri, so go to the NBA, dude.
All right. Well, Mike.
But I don't like how Missouri's just throwing him in here. I don't think they're going to click fully on offense, and I like Florida State. I just like Florida State as an overall team. I just think they'll be able to just top Missouri. I just don't like the way the Missouri's trending and how they've been looking of late.
And I think especially this year, maybe like 5 years ago, this was a little bit differently. But this year, if you're going up against Missouri in this bracket, regardless of what team you are, heck, you can be a 16 seed for all I care. You're not looking at Missouri and going, oh, crap, we have to play Missouri in the first round. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I like Florida State a lot in this. They haven't made a ton of noise this year, but favorable for them. Moving on here. Now, this one's interesting. Ohio State going up against South Dakota State. I read an article earlier that for the sole purpose of South Dakota State playing in the state of South Dakota and having that unusual mascot, that automatically gives them an advantage in this NCAA tournament. Because apparently March and unusual mascots and unusual states usually go together.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think this team's quite unusual enough to beat Ohio State in this basketball game. Ohio State really put up a big, strong fight this year. They lost to Penn State twice. We saw that.
Three times.
Excuse me. Thank you for the correction. 3 times to Penn State. Really shine, though, late in the season. They picked up their play a lot at the end of the season. South Dakota State turns the ball over a lot. They don't really rank in the top tier in really any category statistically, whereas Ohio State ranks in the top 50 in most categories throughout the country. I like Ohio State in this game. I really like Big Ten. Yeah.
I like Ohio State in general in this tournament. One of those losses against Penn State came in their first Big Ten tournament game, so they sort of had a long layoff. And I feel like Ohio State's been through a lot this year. They're not the deepest team. They're really not the most overall talented, most overall best athletic team in the nation or anything quite like that. So I think this little layoff definitely helps Ohio State. South Dakota State has been really grinding hard to win their conference and get in and stuff. So I just like Ohio State with the layoff. I I just like Ohio State. I really think they'll be able to pull this out because Ohio State's a really good basketball team. Other than those 3 Penn State losses, they've lost against very, very good opponents, and Penn State is a good opponent on its own. So I think Ohio State will be able to pull this one out.
So this next matchup we got here, it's everyone's favorite tournament team. It's the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Excuse me, is that what they are? The Bulldogs, actually. Correct, right? They play at the Kennel. They're the Bulldogs. I'm losing track. I know that it's a dog. Frankly, I don't really care much about Gonzaga.
50% of college mascots are either Wildcats or dogs.
I can never really take Gonzaga too seriously, but Mike, you made a really good point. Maybe this is that year where people just say, you know what, like Gonzaga, forget about them, and they really make a deep run. Saw that last year. Made it all the way to the national title game last year. I think they're going to take care of this game. In fact, I think next round they're actually going to take care of Ohio State too. You may disagree with me there.
I am going to disagree with you.
Gonzaga, to me, in this game is just, I don't really see much potential here for an upset when you really compare the teams. I mean, the BPI rank is significant in comparison to UNCG. That's pretty cool, by the way. UNCG. That's a cool, I like that a lot, actually.
Is that University of North Carolina, Greensboro?
Yeah, Greensboro. I love that. Anyway, moving on now. I like Gonzaga in this game a lot. I mean, there's not too much of an explanation here. They're two very odd teams, not really wouldn't really ever face each other in a conference tournament, or not a conference tournament, regular season play. I like Gonzaga in this game.
I got UNC Green.
Ooh.
UNC Green.
And I'll tell you why.
Oh, God.
Haven't been in the tournament from 2001 to 2017. Maybe they're ready to make a statement.
Oh.
It's time to make a statement, all right?
Are they
Gonzaga.
Are they George Mason?
Are they the new Duke?
Are they George Mason?
Gonzaga made it last year, and they had not necessarily a really bad final, but when they lost, it wasn't the Gonzaga team everyone expected it to be. But last year, it was perfect. They didn't really have any injuries. It was a good rotation, and they had, a triple threat of players. This year, I don't think that magic's there for them, and for that reason, I feel that UNC Green is going to be a little more hungry,
UNC Green.
And they're going to get this win.
Okay, so we're going to go just a little bit rapid fire here just because I actually really want to talk about this game. Up until about 2 hours ago, I had San Diego State beating Houston. I changed my pick around. And there was one reason I changed my pick around. He may win American Conference Player of the Year this year. Probably the best player you've never heard of, we've heard of, maybe you listening at home has never heard of, Rob Gray on Houston. I mean, he's probably the biggest under-the-radar star in the past 2 seasons. He's put up 30-plus points on 5 different occasions this season. He's put it up, 30-plus points in the past 3 times in the past month alone. So 3 of those 5 times have come in the past month alone. Kid's hot. Kid's balling. And frankly, I thought Houston was going to win that conference tournament. They didn't. They lost by a singular point to Cincinnati. Frankly, Houston's hot. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to give San Diego State the benefit of the doubt, Fisher leaving there, Brian Dutcher really taking over now his second year as the Aztecs head coach, has done a really good job going into this, when you really looked at San Diego State, they had to win their conference tournament, which really spoke to me because Nevada was a really strong basketball team in the Mountain West Conference. Really, the Mountain West Conference isn't quite elite by, talent spectrum here, but they had to put up a big fight in that conference tournament, and they did. They prevailed. They won the conference tournament. They're here. They've been here before. The Aztecs have proven that they can make deep runs. They made a deep run when they had Kawhi Leonard. Unfortunately, though, I just think this Houston team is very, very good, and I honestly think they may be the best team all around in the American Conference over a team like Cincinnati, despite me having Cincinnati in my Final Four here. I'm picking Houston in this game. Kelvin Sampson, great head coach. Houston's just too good for him.
Yeah, San Diego State has a lot of momentum coming in, but honestly, so does Houston. And San Diego State, what I look at is they're 72nd in the nation in rebounding, and Houston is one of the better teams in the nation in rebounding. And when Houston gets it going on the glass and they get rebounding, just ask Temple if they start grabbing boards, it just slowly becomes your death because Houston just gets more and more momentum and it keeps building and building and building to out of nowhere they're up by 20 at halftime.
Right.
So Houston has a lot of momentum, just like San Diego State, but I like Houston to pull it off because I just think they're the better team.
Yeah, I think all around this Houston team, don't be surprised, folks, if they put a little bit of a dent in this tournament. Moving down here, a lot of people want Montana in this game. It's Montana-Michigan, by the way. I don't want Montana in this game. I get it. The Grizzlies, that's a cool mascot. I hear one of their players is a big Dave Portnoy fan. apparently wants to get a picture with him after the game.
But Dave doesn't travel to Wichita for first-round games.
He doesn't travel to Wichita for first-round games, and there's
I like
a reason.
I like Montana's color scheme, though. I have to say that.
I do like their color scheme, and I think there's a reason Dave Portnoy will not be in attendance. I mean, regardless of the fact that he is quite overconfident at times, he should be, because this Michigan team just won the Big Ten championship. They're coming off a conference championship. They can score. Junior Charles Matthews is unreal. They got a senior, and I'm not even going to pronounce the name. Moritz Wagner, unbelievable junior. This team's stacked all around. I told you I got him going to the Final Four. Michigan, baby. I'm picking them to win this game. Any disagreements there?
No disagreements. I got Michigan, too. They're just riding
So we're going to move down to Texas A&M and Providence.
Big East.
I'm not going to give a lot of explanation here, but I'm going to tell you why Providence is going to win this. Texas A&M can't shoot.
Yep.
And that's a problem. Providence can shoot.
Wait, do we all have Providence for this one?
Yeah, we all have Providence.
Nice.
This is Providence. I'm telling you. All right, listen. Hear me out right now. Texas A&M really only flashed me for 1 month, and what was that? September, maybe early October. They haven't really shown me a lot. I mean, they don't play really the way they're supposed to play to win tournament games. I mean, they're not really quite fit for an NCAA tournament stage, and they're going up against a team from the Big East right now, Providence, who gave a great run in the Big East tournament. They're catching a bit of momentum themselves, whereas Texas A&M is catching quite literally to none momentum. And, when you really look at them, they're well coached. Ed Cooley been to the tournament before. They have 5 players who average between 8 to 14 points. That's pretty remarkable for a team that really didn't put up flashy numbers at 21-13 this season. I like Providence a lot. I think they can make a lot do with very little, whereas Texas A&M doesn't have a lot, and they really can't make a lot with what they have. I really like Providence in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said it with Texas A&M. They're really trending downwards. Providence is a very physical team. Say it again, Big East, they fight hard. They play to the wire. They took Villanova to, what was it, double overtime, triple overtime? I don't know. They took them 2 overtimes in the Big East championship. So I just like Providence. They've had some bad tournament luck as of late in recent years. So I like them to get past Texas A&M, and I like them to make a deep run all the way to the Elite Eight. So I'm liking Providence right here.
Okay, so moving on here, before I pick UNC to win this game, Lipscomb, guess what conference they play in? Just take a guess.
The best one.
Seriously, this is interesting. See what conference they play.
Are they in the Colonial?
No. They play in the Atlantic Sun Conference. Guess who comes from the Atlantic Sun Conference?
Who?
Florida Gulf Coast University.
Uh-oh.
Florida Gulf Coast University made a run almost all the way to the Elite Eight not too long ago. They went to the Sweet 16. I'm picking UNC to win this basketball game because I truthfully think that Joel Berry's just going to have the game of his life here and really pull apart an Atlantic Sun team with not a lot of experience. But if you're into that superstitial stuff, Lipscomb plays in the Atlantic Sun. Teams from the Atlantic Sun come out of nowhere. Look at Florida Gulf Coast. Did anyone pick Florida Gulf Coast to get past that first round this year? I know I did, but I'm one of very few. When I look at Lipscomb, they don't match up very well, but they have that swagger to them coming off of this. They don't make it to the NCAA tournament often, so there's a lot of motivation there. Usually teams that don't make it often have quite a little bit more motivation to win their games when there's a lot more to prove. However, UNC to me is going to win this basketball game, but very similar to Duke Iona. If you're feeling a little risky here, I don't have an issue with you picking Lipscomb to win this game.
Mass, tell them why you're feeling risky.
I guess you won't have an issue why I have Lipscomb winning this game, and it's because Garrison Matthews, baby. To me, he is a marksman. He's a musketeer.
Tell him.
And listen.
Preach
Okay,
it.
there's not exactly a lot of great things to say about North Carolina. They rely on a fast-paced offense that if it's stopped, it can be stopped entirely. And when Lipscomb won the ASUN championship, again, I know they're not playing the greatest teams, but they took a 60-31 halftime lead. And that shows right there, hey, the defense is going up. So if their defense can stop the Tar Heels, which is no easy feat, don't get me wrong. But if they can stop the Tar Heels, they can easily score on the Tar Heels. The Tar Heels don't rely on defense. The Tar Heels rely on offense. And that's the reason why I don't really have them going too far. And that's why I got Lipscomb pulling off the upset, baby. I just think, it's still the hungry status. We still got hungry dogs. But I think Lipscomb can upset a team right here using that kind of mentality. You can stop it.
Can we talk about something we all agree on, Mass? Because when you disagree, it makes me very uncomfortable.
I'm not disagreeing. These are just my choices.
Okay.
Baby.
I picked UNC, by the way, but
You picked UNC? All right. Well, can we agree on the fact that this is going to be Florida State Xavier? Can we agree on the fact that Florida State's really not going to match with Xavier at all in this game?
No, dude, Xavier's. Well, why are people sleeping on Xavier?
That's what I'm saying. No. I'm saying Xavier will take care of Florida State.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not down.
No, 100%. Yeah,
That's what I meant.
Yeah, but here's what I'm trying to get into. Everybody's like, oh, Xavier's like a low 2 seed. Like, I don't care if they're a low 2 seed. I don't care if you want them to be a 16 seed. This Xavier team is a top 8 team in the nation, and they're very good. And there's just a lot of people are sleeping on them. I mean, I have them losing the Sweet 16, so I guess I'm one of them. But Xavier's a really good team, so they're definitely getting out of the first weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, Xavier's really proved it a lot this season. They lost twice to Villanova. They beat Cincinnati, who we have going to the Final Four. They won that game by 13.
I believe that game was in Cincinnati.
They beat Seton Hall twice. They won and lost one against Providence, and they beat Butler twice. So that's already 4 teams, and Creighton too. They beat them twice. So this team's taking care of pretty much a lot of teams that we guiltily have winning in the first and second round of our brackets. I think all of these teams Xavier has taken care of at least once. So something to keep in mind. I mean, this team, frankly, when you give them a chance to play, 2 or 3 times, they're going to win that series at least 2 out of 1. And if they go up against a team that they're familiar with, later on in this tournament, who knows, who making out of the other side of the bracket. I mean, I'm going to give Xavier the benefit of the doubt in a lot of these games. I'm not, however, going to give them the benefit of the doubt against Michigan. I actually have them beating Gonzaga. We'll get to that later. Okay, this next game, we agreed here, Gonzaga, Ohio State. Man, Mike likes Ohio State in this game. I'm going to go with Gonzaga in this game, but Mike, I'm really interested to hear why you're picking Ohio State over Gonzaga here.
This is going to be an ugly game. It's going to be gross. You're probably going to want to puke a couple times, and hey, that's fine. Do you, but I just like Ohio State's fighting them. I mean, they just didn't have a good matchup against Penn State. That's why they lost 3 times. But Ohio State really that's a team that a lot of people just don't think they have found their identity yet. And there's something about this Ohio State's team that just makes me feel like they're going to find it out at the right time. Their defense is good. They can really slow down a Gonzaga team. They can sort of control the pace. And, they have this player called Keita Bates-Diop who is very good. Very good. Definitely easily lottery pick potential, and he can really take over games for Ohio State. They don't have a player over 6'9", but they got a good amount of length, spread it out throughout the lineup. So I just like this Ohio State team with, with the long layoff, 9, what does they have, 9 losses? Not 9 of their, 3 of their 9 losses, I believe, or 3 of their 8 losses are against one team. So they're not going to face that one team this whole tournament. So this is still a very, very, very good Ohio State team. And I think Ohio State will take them.
I mean, they started out the year, they lost 3 of 4, but you do make a good point. The only other losses came against UNC, Michigan, and 2 times to unranked Penn State and make that 3, though, if you add, the conference tournament. They got the Big Ten Player of the Year. When you really look at Gonzaga, though, I really like this team. They have a really balanced group. They got 5 double-digit scorers. They've won their conference, whether this is a feat or not, because they play in the WCC, so whatever this is worth. They've won that conference 18 of the past 19 seasons. They're always in this tournament. This is nothing new. They're coming off a national championship. I'm not saying Gonzaga is going to the Final Four, but I do like them over Ohio State. I think Ohio State's incredibly vulnerable. I think Gonzaga's going to step on the pedal here.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State shoots nearly 50% from the field, so I think that's a big thing. If Ohio State can make their shots early, there's not a lot of teams in the nation that can beat them. So if Ohio State can get out to good starts, that's key for them. Good, consistent starts. If they can continuously do that, they can beat majority of the teams in the nation.
This is going to be really fun right now. Houston, Michigan. I'm picking Michigan, but it's so close. I couldn't even give you a decisive, clear-cut argument for Michigan in this scenario because I like and I respect Houston that much more. But I'm going to pick Michigan. They play Big Ten basketball, the American, by far the most underrated basketball conference in America. I don't care what anyone says. I'm picking Michigan in this game. I think they have a little too much more. But if Rob Gray can put up 30 points, I mean, he's done it, 3 times in the past month? That's going to create a lot more opportunities for this Houston ball club. I mean, they got a lot of guys who can score. They're 3-2 versus top 25 teams. So they've proven they can beat the big boys. And, I mean, they got a huge win versus Arkansas, who was in this tournament by 26 earlier in this year. They've proven that when they get going, Rob Gray, especially this entire team put together, they really got a lot. And I don't have them going to the Sweet 16, but they are perfectly built for a Sweet 16 run. And it's hard to really bet against them. But when I look at Michigan, I look at Moritz Wagner. I look at what they've done all year coming off that Big Ten. I really just like this team a lot. They got Charles Matthews, and Houston, to me, on a consistent basis, only has Rob Gray, whereas Michigan on a consistent basis has an entire team. So I'm picking Michigan.
Yeah, I feel like Michigan, I think, will be able to do what San Diego State can't, and I think is be able to take some momentum, from grabbing rebounds, and I think that's where Houston gets a lot of their momentum, crashing the offensive glass, crashing the defensive glass. I just think Michigan is a little bit more formidable than teams like San Diego State, and they can sort of stop Houston. Houston's a really good rebounding team, but I think that's the main thing when it comes to stopping Houston, getting the ball out of their hands. Not letting them grab rebounds, not letting them get easy, cheesy second chance points.
Right.
And I think that's big, and I think Michigan is playing their best basketball at the right time. Will be able to stop that.
And something to keep in mind here, since 2008, number 3 seeds, Michigan, have won 13 of the past 16 meetings against the number 6 seed. So that's definitely in Michigan's favor.
Definitely.
100%. All right, we're moving down here. We're almost done with this. We're about to get to the Final Four. We're going to wrap up. Mike, you're going to take the floor here because I got UNC, but you got a serious argument for Providence right now.
I'm just going to harp on it again. Big East. And Providence haven't really found a whole bunch of luck in the tournament as of late, but I just like how Providence has been playing. They brought Villanova to overtime. They battled with Xavier. They beat Xavier. They beat Creighton, and they beat St. John's before that. So I just like how this Providence team fights. Around Coach Ed Cooley. They even with Chris Dunn. You just when they've had Chris Dunn back in the day, you just feel like this Providence team will always give you a good game.
Right.
And this UNC team really doesn't scare me. There isn't too much that I'm like this Providence Friars basketball team can't handle. And I think this Providence team can handle UNC. I think this is a very winnable game. UNC has been a little up and down, and I just like how Providence is trending this year. I just like the feel around the team, and I like the way they're playing, and I just like Providence upsetting UNC.
All right, so you got Providence moving on there. You got them going past UNC. I have UNC winning Mass. Do you have Providence beating UNC?
I have Lipscomb beating Providence.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, baby.
All right, I didn't know
you
want to crank up the heat a little bit there, buddy. It's not hot enough in here.
Just to further talk about Lipscomb a little bit more, is to just keep recapping off the ASUN championship. Listen, they had first thing I want to talk about is depth. When Garrison Mason is off the court, Matt Rose comes off and scores half the points he does throughout the entire game. To me, that says, hey, if our players are half as good as our superstars who are really good, we have enough quality production to put ourselves out there as a good game. Listen, they made themselves to the tournament. I'm not going to deny a team that is going to try as hard as they want to. They had 9 steals in the first half in that halftime, and they were shooting from 66%. And so what I'm saying is if they can beat North Carolina using the same kind of mentality, there's nothing stopping them from doing it against Providence because, like Mike was saying, there's no real what's the word? There's no real faith that I have in Providence to really take it over. I just haven't beating Texas A&M because I don't really like Texas A&M. And I really think Lipscomb is the kind of team to not really reach Vermont status, but to just show everyone hey guys, we're here. Come on now. Stop disrespecting.
You can only wish to reach Vermont status.
You can only wish. When you're Lipscomb, that's all you can wish for.
Well, Crazy Eights, they're called Crazy Eights for a reason because by the time you get to the Elite Eight on your bracket, you're pretty much pulling out every single piece of hair you got because you're so stressed out. And I think this is going to be one of those kinds, one of those kinds of years. It's going to be a 1 versus 4 in my opinion.
Okay.
Xavier, Gonzaga here. I'm picking Xavier, Mike, and I'm going to piggyback off your argument. This is a top 8 basketball team, and they're very, very good. And I don't think Gonzaga is that good. I think they're good enough to get past Ohio State and UNC Greensboro. I don't think they're good enough to be an Xavier team that, may I add, has a lot of impressive wins on their resume this year. I got Xavier punching their ticket to the Elite Eight. We're going to get them past the Sweet 16. We're going to get them into the Elite Eight, taking on Michigan. Mike, do you disagree, agree? Xavier, Ohio State.
I'm going Ohio State. I'm going to harp on it again. I think that layoff is the best thing that could have happened to this Ohio State team, being able to play Penn State, losing again, being able to lose to the same team 3 times, really sort of figure yourself out, have more than a week to sort of figure out your identity, how you want to approach this tournament. And I just feel like for an Ohio State team, this was just a blessing in disguise, that long break for them. And I just have a feeling this Buckeyes team is going to come in rolling, and Keita Bates-Diop is just going to really take over things. But one name I really want to highlight for Ohio State, if they're going to be playing good, excuse me, they have 4 players that all double-digit points, but one player I think is going to be really important is Cam Williams. He's not averaging double-digit points. He's only averaging 8, but his last 3 games he has reached double figures against Rutgers, Indiana, and Penn State. And if Ohio State can be able to carry that secondary scoring, he doesn't have to score 20 points, not 30, not 25. If he's able to consistently chip in 11, 10, or 12 points, that will go a long way for Ohio State team trying to make a deep run with the likes of Keita Bates-Diop and a multitude of depth they have. So if they can have another double-digit scorer come up in their ability, and if they can have 5 people averaging double digits in a tournament, Ohio State can beat any given team in this tournament. Any given team.
I got UNC Michigan here, and this is really, really funny to me because these are 2 teams that I feel like I see a lot facing off against each other in my bracket almost every single year. Whether you hate the guy or love the guy, Roy Williams is a fantastic coach, and to be honest, UNC is, while inconsistent at times, a fantastic basketball team, but Michigan finished 4th, overall 4th in the Big Ten standings, ran up that conference tournament, and I'm going to piggyback off my argument, and I don't think really anyone's going to be able to contain Moritz Wagner on UNC in that game. Moritz Wagner can do pretty much everything you need him to do. He's kind of like Shaq Morris, only Shaq Morris can't shoot like crazy amount of threes, crazy amount of field goals like Moritz Wagner can, even though, Shaq Morris on Wichita State is an effective player. I think Moritz Wagner is a huge difference maker in this game, and just overall this Michigan team, to me, matched up against a UNC team, they're going to expose the inconsistency in that game. Michigan's a strong, powerful, fast basketball team. I don't think UNC really embodies all 3 or 4 of those attributes I just listed. Michigan. I like him. Michigan over UNC.
Michigan over UNC. So you have Xavier and Michigan in your Elite 8?
Yep.
All right, Mass, I'm going to let you go.
I got Michigan over Lipscomb, and then I got Ohio State over Xavier. I would talk about those, but I think those seem pretty simple. You recapped Xavier versus Ohio State pretty well. And then I got Ohio State versus Michigan in the Elite 8, in which I think Ohio State's going to win because it's kind of like Dennis the Menace, and like Michigan is like the granddad, and they watch Ohio State and they're like, get this like kid off my lawn. And so like it's like a little rivalry, but at the end of the day, Dennis kind of always gets away with it. So Ohio State's gonna get the dub. No, but in serious, I just think it's a better, like it's a more mature team, and I just think they're gonna win it.
Riding the Big East wave, riding the Providence wave. I got Providence upsetting Michigan. They're going to the Elite 8 playing Ohio State. Just like the likes of Rodney Bullock. I think Providence, they can get some, they can get some depth maybe from a Nate Watson because they could use a big guy against Michigan, so they might play him a lot. Really sort of figure out their scoring and their whole depth of scoring. I think that's going to be a big thing for Providence, and I really have faith and trust in them and how they're going to find that. So, I like a lot. I think Isaiah Jackson is a big key for Providence. He's been a little off lately. I think if he's able to find a shot, really get better for Providence, I think he will really help the Providence Friars move to the Elite 8 because they are a good enough team to easily move to the Elite 8, and Michigan is beatable.
Who knew Providence loved to recruit from the state of Virginia right here? We got some hometown love in D.C. Number 0, Nate Watson, Arlington, Virginia. That is the town over from where I live. It's not going to say where he went to high school, which would really help me sound like a big D.C. nerd right now. We got a couple guys from Hampton on this team, too. Mike, I'm liking the vision here. I did not realize we got a guy from Richmond. Wow. Providence. Virginia bred. Mike loves Providence.
Yup, and Mr. Kyron. Mr. Kyron Cartwright, he's a hard guard. I mean, he's a little guy at 5'11", but he can definitely call some little Compton, California product. So I just like Providence. I just like the demeanor around this team right now, and really in this West bracket, Ohio State and Providence are my 2 Elite 8 teams. Just because the fact I think they've really just, even though Ohio State's been off the last week, I just feel like the last week has been really a gift for both these teams. Ohio State getting to break Providence, being able to beat teams like Xavier, carry Villanova, even though they beat them in the regular season, carry Villanova into an overtime game in the Big East Championship. So I feel like both these teams are going to be able to come in this tournament with some momentum, and I feel like we have an Ohio State-Providence regional final in the West.
All right. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. when I was so this next game I got Xavier Michigan, by the way, in the Elite Eight, Xavier Michigan. Now when I was picking this game, every single part of my being wanted to pick Xavier, but for the sole reason that I hate, and I'm gonna capital hate putting 2 1-on-1s in the Final Four, I'm picking Michigan in this game. I'm going very superficial here.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I think Xavier is a little bit better of a basketball team, but I don't like Kansas Xavier the 1-1 in that Final Four. I think it's going to look a lot better, and I think it's going to make a lot more sense logically from years past. And you can say superficially this and that, and sometimes that doesn't work, sometimes it does. Well, I'm telling you right now, this is March, and you have to think outside the box here. My outside the box pick here is, despite me thinking that Xavier is a better team than Michigan, is Michigan playing a better game than Xavier. I have Michigan playing a better game, and they're going to win that game.
And I think that's a big point that we really haven't harped on. It really comes down to one game.
Yeah.
And I just like Ohio State and Providence be able to carry momentum through those one singular games as they march through the tournament. So I have them meeting up in the Elite Eight. Me and Massimo are having the same Final Four in this bracket. Both have Ohio State coming out. I think Ohio State will be able to end the Providence wave. I think that will be a great game. Honestly, of all the regional matchups I have, this is by far the most interesting. And I think the possibility of really being a weird classic between Ohio State and Providence for a spot in the Final Four. But I like Ohio State to knock it out. I think they got the bigger star in Keita Bates-Diop, so I feel like that's what pushes Ohio State over the edge and gets them into the Final Four. Did they get into the Final Four with Jared Solinger? I think so, right? I believe they got into the Final Four with Jared Solinger.
It was at least the Elite Eight. I don't know if it was the Final Four. It was at least the Elite Eight.
Well, I like Ohio State to get there.
So you like Ohio State. I like Michigan, Mass. Do you have neither Ohio State or Michigan?
No, it's okay. We have Ohio State.
You have Ohio State? Okay.
So we got a Big Ten South, or Big Ten West, excuse me.
Now we're going to the South. And once again, finally we're on the same page here. We're going to the South. We're playing our games in Atlanta. It's starting to make a lot more sense for us. I feel like as we're going on, we're getting more clarity.
Dallas is South. Charlotte, South-ish. Boise, no. Nashville.
Boise's not in the South.
Nashville, I'll take it. The West is honestly Wichita, not in the West. Nashville, not in the West. Charlotte, not in the West. Boise, kind of in the West. I mean,
that's the Northwest-ish. I wouldn't call that the Northwest. That's more so just big sky country. It's its own category.
Why are we putting demographics on a region where we're not even playing in that demographic?
Is Idaho the Northwest? Is this a debate because it's North and West? But
I don't know. San Diego's in the East. That's all I know. That's all I care about.
It's not though. It's in the West, silly Mike. Come on.
No, it's east of Tokyo. Isn't this how they put the brackets? If it's east of Tokyo, it's in the East.
I'm going to start out by saying those UMBC terrorists, the University of Maryland, Baltimore College.
Probably going to lose by 20.
They're probably going to lose this game by 35. But those yellow jerseys, man.
Yes, those yellow jerseys.
Tune into this game just so you can see UMBC's jerseys. I promise that they will not disappoint. UVA.
So if we're doing our swag bracket, you would have UMBC winning?
Yes. Okay. UVA, listen, I know there's a lot of speculation right now with the 100 going down. I do think that's actually the reason why they're losing to Arizona in my bracket. However, I don't think that's the reason they are going to lose this game. I don't see UMBC beating UVA in this game, man. UVA has been number one for over a month now, and there's a reason for that. There's nothing really much else to say. UVA.
Yeah, UVA, they're number one seed overall. They're not losing.
Okay, Creighton, Kansas State. A lot of people like Kansas State. I like Creighton. Mike, who do you like here?
I like Creighton a lot. I don't get the whole Kansas State little bandwagon right now. I mean, they've been facing some injury issues. I believe they have their two best players. I don't know if I can just pull this up right here. They have their two best players, forward Dean Wade and guard Barry Brown, who are out. They're their two best players. No one on the team averages more than 10.8 points per game outside of those two. So if those two are hurt, they're going to be at extremely disadvantaged against a well-coached, well-disciplined Creighton team that can really put the ball in the hoop and that gets gritty on defense. I mean, Creighton, which I thought was in Ohio, Taylor enlightened me, told me they're in Nebraska.
Yeah, Omaha, Nebraska.
Creighton's in Nebraska, so I mean, they're in the Midwest. So I like him to beat Kansas State, but I just think Creighton will be too much, especially for Kansas State, who has so much injury concern around them. So, but it's a gift for Kansas State. They're playing Friday. Maybe they get them back, but I just feel like those concerns are just too much, and I feel like Creighton's the safest bet for me at this point over Kansas
Creighton's
State.
got a win and loss versus Butler this year, a win versus UCLA, a win-loss versus Villanova. Interestingly, 2 losses to Xavier. Pretty all around, not quite the term average, but not quite the most consistent team, especially not consistent enough to really trust them to go deep into this. But when you really look at it, Mike said it best. They're good enough to beat this Kansas State team. Kansas State's a middle of the Big 12 team. You know what I mean?
It's they don't have Michael Beasley or anything.
They're
so.
mid-Big 12. I don't know what we're talking about here. I know what we should be talking about because everyone wants to pick Davidson in this game, and I don't understand it. I'm picking Kentucky. They're hot right now. They just won an SEC title.
All right, so this is a 5-12 matchup. You had West Virginia winning.
No one's picked a 5-12.
No one's picked a 5-12.
And it happens every year. So this is interesting.
I think it's happened every single year but 4. I think 07, 99, and another year. But it's not happening this year, in my opinion. I think Kentucky's peaking at the right time.
I don't think anyone is losing 15-2.
Honestly, there's really not much more I can say than it's Kentucky. John Calipari coach.
He's never lost.
They're
in the
trending.
first round.
They're trending in the right direction at the right time. They're playing Davidson, who just got in by the skin of their teeth by winning the conference. So
I feel like a lot of people are going to favor Davidson for some reason because they just, like you said, had to win their way into this tournament. But John Calipari's never lost a game in the first round.
I think Davidson can beat. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think Davidson can beat Kentucky, but I think that's the big thing. John Calipari in the first round is going to be very, very hard to beat. He has multiple days to plan for this Davidson team, and Kentucky's peaking at the right time. So I think they'll be able to get it done. They should be able to get it done. I got Kentucky.
Yeah. All right, well, this is going to be interesting right here because a lot of people also here want you to pick Buffalo over Arizona, but DeAndre Ayton's the player of the year. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to both just go back and forth of how much of the love fest for DeAndre Ayton later in the show.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. I got Arizona beating UVA, so I'm picking Arizona to really pound down Buffalo here.
Yeah, I got Arizona. They're going to go all the way to my Elite Eight, but disclaimer, huge asterisk. I'm going to put another asterisk on the end, and I'm going to circle and underline it, put it in bold, italicized. Okay, so Arizona can lose to Buffalo. You have people like Jay Billis. Arizona's grossly underseeded. They should be a 2 seed. They should be this. They should be that. Well, tell me if I'm wrong or if you heard this before. A few years back, I believe 2015, Baylor, they were a 3 seed. People believe they should have been a 2. Maybe could even squeeze in a 1 if they finished out their regular season a little bit better. What do? Lose first round of Georgia State. I feel like this could be a prime candidate. I sort of said it earlier with Michigan State. Michigan State and Arizona are the 2 prime candidates where everybody's like, oh, book it. Final 4 run, book it easily. Oh, that's cake. Oh, this is the easiest March Madness bracket ever. Oh my God, I'm so smart. Arizona's going to the Final 4. But there is a high possibility. Buffalo, they're on a hot streak. I believe they won 12 of their last 13. They're 10-2 in their last 12, something like that.
Had to win their way in.
They're very balanced, and Arizona is beatable. Really, Arizona has a balanced scoring attack, but if you can slow down DeAndre Ayton, that's huge. And I think Buffalo's coming in this game with nothing to lose against an underseeded Arizona team that, quite frankly, could disappoint in their first-round matchup. So I believe this is going to be a very, very close game. But I do think Arizona has a little too much where they will be able to surpass Buffalo because I think DeAndre Ayton is that talented. But Buffalo will give them a game, and do not be surprised, because I sure as hell won't. Yeah. Do not be surprised if Buffalo pulls off the upset. But I still have Arizona winning.
So Mike's got Buffalo perhaps pulling up the upset. But I'm going to tell you an upset that will happen. In fact, get your bracket out right now because I'm about to drop it on you. I'm talking about the boys that play up in the Windy City. The Loyola Chicago Ramblers will take down the 6th-seeded Miami Hurricanes playing down in Coral Gables, Florida. When you look at Loyola Chicago, they have one impressive win this season, and it's versus a team that plays in the exact same state as the Hurricanes, the great Sunshine State of Florida. That's one win. Now, don't get me wrong, it's only one flashy win. You're probably thinking, oh, how is this team really that much better than Miami? I'm going to tell you right now. When you look at Miami, they are by far the weakest 6th seed in this tournament, and it's really not even close, to be honest with you. Their defense has been average all year. When you look at Loyola, they're the 3rd most efficient double-digit seed behind Butler and Texas. Mm-hmm. Something to note. All right, and when we look at them, they also have a top 25 efficient defense, and like I said, a reason why they were able to beat Florida in that game, pace. They are able to slow down the pace. If they can slow down the pace on Miami, there's really not going to be a ton of response from this Hurricane team. When you look at Miami, they're coming off a one and done in the ACC tournament, and they've heard it all week. Loyola Chicago, Loyola Chicago. A lot of people are going to think that's motivation for Miami. I think it's the opposite. I think they're going to get in Miami's head this week. I think they've had a little too much time to think with that one-and-done exit. And when you really look at it, at least 2 number 11 seeds have won in the first round in each of the last 4 tournaments. And the last time there wasn't one, it was a 6-11 upset, and that was 2004. So at least one 6-11 matchup up until the present day, since 2004, at least one 6-11 matchup has not gone the way towards the 6. So I'm saying in this case, this is the first time ever, will not be the first time ever, because this will be 11-6 here. Loyola Chicago will beat Miami. They will keep that trend going. The streak will keep alive since 2004. It's been going strong.
What, 2 11 seeds beating a 6 in the tournament?
Okay, so since 2000, here, read this stat, actually. I want to make this clear.
Okay,
at least
clear.
2 number 11 seeds have won in the first round in each of the last 4 tournaments. And the last time there wasn't at least one 6-11 upset was 2004. So the last time there wasn't at least one.
So we both have 2. We have St. Bonnie over Florida, and we have Loyola Chicago over Miami.
Because you have Loyola too.
Yeah, I'm joining you on a Loyola. You kind of sold me over. I mean, because you are Loyola Chicago's number 1 salesperson. And you did sell me.
Miami is horrible at the
Miami really hasn't impressed me. Weren't they a 3 seed last year? Or a 2 seed or
they got a
something?
below average free throw rate, a below average defense, and a little bit above average offense.
Loyola Chicago hasn't been in the tournament since the 80s, so I really like Loyola.
I'd love to give love, but the bottom line is they are easily the most overseeded team in this entire tournament. At number 6, they are easily the worst team out of all the 6 seeds in this tournament, out of probably all the top 10 teams when you really compile the teams all together. And this Loyola Chicago team is the 3rd most efficient out of any double-seeded or any double-digit seed in this entire tournament. Listen, I'm just saying, man, this Loyola Chicago team can not only win this game, they can take control of this game, and Miami's going to have a lot of issues. I'm picking Loyola Chicago.
Massimo, you're with us.
Yeah, I'm with you guys, Loyola Chicago. They just don't make as many mistakes.
All right, well, we're going to move on here. Can I get a good old Rocky Top Tennessee over Wright State?
Butch Davis, the coach?
Butch Davis? If he was, we'd be losing.
No, we got Tennessee.
He's not that coach. No, he's not, no. But they do have Admiral Schofield, who we'll talk about.
Yeah, Admiral Schofield is kind of good. Wright State's had a nice season, but I got Tennessee.
All right, so Tennessee is going to take on Loyola Chicago. We'll get to that. Nevada, despite that early round exit in the Mountain West Conference tournament, being ranked in the top 25 all year, I don't love Texas. I get that they rank high in efficiency, but it's Texas.
Yeah, I mean Texas really doesn't jump off the radar when it comes to doing anything that really scares you. I think Nevada's sort of in the same boat with Ohio State. They're a team that can really make a deep run if they have everything going for them.
Right.
And Nevada can really shoot the ball. They can put the ball in the hoop, and Texas sort of is imbalanced a lot of times, and really within one game you really see them have a good first half and a really bad second half, or vice versa. So I like Nevada to come out there, be able to get that one win, have a little rest off, and I think Nevada pulls this one out.
We got our Final Four Bearcats going up against Georgia State here.
Final Four Bearcats. Final Four.
Any love for Ron Hunter, coach of Georgia State?
Man, I want to give him a hug. I want to clap him up. I just want to take a picture with him, throw it up on the gram, be like, "Hey, yo, it's Ron Hunter." But this, I think, is the most likely 2-15 upset. I mean, we both mentioned Final Four Cincinnati. Final Four Cincinnati, but I think they have the highest chance of getting upset in the second round.
They did it to Baylor.
I like Georgia State. Georgia State beat Baylor. They can definitely do it. Cincinnati is beatable, but they're very Stephen A. voice, very hard to beat.
Yeah.
Saying that, I like Cincinnati over Georgia State, but don't be surprised if Georgia State and Cincinnati is the closest 2-15 matchup.
Okay, so we're going to move up here. I'm going quick here, UVA over Creighton. And I don't know if you really have an elaborate explanation here. I think you have Creighton winning this game, though. So
I do have Creighton winning this game. Virginia just lost Philadelphia native, DeAndre Hunter. Even though he's not one of their more experienced players in their core, I still think that's a big loss. He's one of their bigger players. He's lengthy. He can definitely put the ball on the floor. He can score. He can give you some production off the bench. But I like Creighton. They can score the ball very well. And Virginia's a slow team. Creighton's a fast team. If Creighton can start the game off hitting some shots, they can manhandle Virginia.
Really?
I don't think they will manhandle them, but they can. I like Creighton to be over Virginia. I think Virginia's the first number 1 seed out. I think they have the hardest bracket of any one seed.
Easily.
And I think that was telling us a lot by the committee saying they don't even believe in Virginia. Because usually you get the number 1 seed in the tournament, you have the easiest bracket. You're getting the Tennessees in your bracket, even though they got Tennessee, but you're getting the Tennessees. You'll probably get to Purdue's. You'll probably get, teams of lesser value compared to other teams in and around the bracket.
There's not 1 seed above 8 that they would have to face to get there.
There is honestly 6 teams that can beat Virginia in this bracket. Creighton being one of them, Kentucky, Arizona, Cincinnati, Nevada, and Tennessee. I think they can all beat they can all beat Virginia. So I like Creighton to get that first crack at them, and I like Creighton to upset Virginia because of just the way they play fast-paced, the way they're able to run and gun, and the way they're able to shoot the ball. I think they'll be able to overtake Virginia because I like this Creighton team a lot. They have been playing very well this year, and I think they're really going under the radar despite their 21-11 record.
Okay, listen, we got Kentucky, Arizona, and I think you're going to hear this too much, but is this Calipari team peaking at the right time right now?
I think like every single Calipari team's always peaking at the right time.
They say that every year, though, and I think maybe
they said that every year except for like the 38-0 year or 38-1 year.
But they're really nothing like those past teams that have made deep runs. I mean, this Kentucky team, I'll give it to them. They won the SEC championship, but throughout this year, this has not been Kentucky's conference.
Yeah, it really has.
It usually has been, but not this year.
I think I get what you're implying.
You know what I mean? Listen, I'm picking Arizona to win this game because I think DeAndre Ayton is the player of the year. But I think Kentucky can easily win this game solely based off the fact that John Calipari, if he gets his boys arranged and he gets them where he wants them to be, this team's going to be hard. They're going to be dangerous, and I really think this is a tough one to pick. It can go either way. Personally, though, I'm going with Arizona.
Yeah, I said it earlier. Arizona, it's not like they're unbeatable. You slow down DeAndre Ayton, you can slow down that Wildcats offense. So I think Kentucky can beat them, but I don't see Kentucky being able to slow down DeAndre Ayton. I think Arizona just has too much of a role right now, and if they're able to get past Buffalo, I think they'll be able to get past Kentucky and mark a matchup with Creighton in the Elite Eight.
So can I just say something? I love Loyola Chicago, but there's no way I would ever pick him over my Rocky Top Balls. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement, and we have Tennessee in the Sweet 16, right, Mass?
They're just not as talented.
Yeah, well, I just think it's just too much. They don't have enough.
I'll give them this, though.
Tennessee's a really good team, man.
They're
really good.
They're great, but if you slow down Admiral Schofield, and this is why I actually have them losing to Cincinnati, there's not a lot to work with there offensively. At times they're great, but other times they're really not. And they're not quite, quote-unquote, inconsistent. Mm-hmm. But they've proven if they don't come ready to play on some of these nights, they're a team that can really get beat down on. So this is a big chance right here for Loyola Chicago to come off a hot start. If they can slow down Admiral Schofield somehow, it'll be a good game. But I like Tennessee. I don't like them beating Cincinnati, though, in the next round.
Yeah.
Cincinnati over Nevada. Gary Clark Jr.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati's defense will be good enough to. I just don't see Nevada being able to consistently score points on Cincinnati's defense over a course of a game. So I like Cincinnati taking Nevada.
Yeah. All right. So you got Cincinnati. All right, so I got Cincinnati, Tennessee, Arizona, UVA. You got Arizona, Creighton.
Yes, I got Arizona, Creighton, Tennessee, Cincinnati.
All right. So we're both here on Cincinnati and Arizona, right? Are we both there?
Yeah, I'm both there.
I got Virginia, Arizona right now.
Yeah, I got Creighton being able to beat Virginia because Virginia isn't overwhelming you in size, and neither is Creighton, so it's a great matchup for Creighton. But Creighton doesn't have anybody over 6'10" or 6'9" who gets considerable minutes, so I don't think they have anybody to guard DeAndre Ayton, and I think that will be the Achilles heel for Creighton, and I think Arizona will be able to beat them after they just had an upset over Virginia. So I got Arizona beating Creighton, and I got Cincinnati beating Tennessee because of what you said, Gary Clark Jr. and defense, and Cincinnati has been clicking the right buttons for virtually the whole entire year. So they really have a favorable spot in the bracket right here. There's really not a lot of teams that scare me. I'm sorry, but Tennessee doesn't scare me as a basketball program. Cincinnati is more formidable than Tennessee, so I have Cincinnati and Arizona as your regional final in the South.
I want to make something very clear here. Cincinnati has a 30-4 overall record. That's extremely good.
Very
and
good.
if you really look at them, they've lost to Xavier. They lost by 13. They split one with Wichita. You know, they won by 6 versus Buffalo. Actually, interesting. Buffalo's in this tournament, and they lost to Florida. If you look at those 4 losses, though, I mean, if people ask like, what makes them so special, Mike and Taylor? Why do you have them going so deep? I mean, they're so offensively capable. They have 4 players averaging double figures, and when you really look at them defensively, if they're clicking, it's extremely hard.
They're second in the nation in points allowed. Second
in points allowed.
Second at 57.2.
Yeah. And just to build off my point, you're really just making me sound smarter here because my whole point about Cincinnati.
You're welcome.
My whole point about Cincinnati, I was about to say, is if they really click on defense, I mean, they're more than offensively capable, but more so if they're clicking on defense, you aren't going to be able to run the offense you want to run. Look at Temple in that second game. When they figured out Temple, they couldn't do anything because they had no clue what to run because if they ran that, they shut that down. They ran that, they shut that down. I like Cincinnati more in this game because when I look at Tennessee, you're really only relying on 1 or 2 guys, whereas Cincinnati, as a collective whole, has carried themselves to a 34 record this year. Collectively, Cincinnati's going to win this game. So I got Cincinnati playing Arizona, and I got Cincinnati actually beating Arizona for pretty much the same reason they're beating Tennessee. If you limit DeAndre Ayton, that's a big problem.
Yeah,
Cincinnati to the Final Four.
I think Cincinnati will be able to beat Arizona, so I think we're going to get Mass in here. You have Virginia. I'm low on Virginia. You're high on Virginia.
I am high on Virginia.
You're very high on Virginia. Very high on Virginia. Tell me why.
Well, let's see. Let's look at this. I already have 2 number 1 teams losing by like the Sweet 16, so I have to start giving some of these teams credit.
Start showing them.
Kansas speaking.
So it's because you're doing. So you don't like them. You're just feeling sorry.
No. It's not only that too. Virginia is number 1 for a reason, and in my personal opinion, I think Tennessee's the second best team. Creighton, I actually had losing in the first round of Kansas State because I think that's a trap game, and I think Creighton's going to think, oh yeah, they got 200 players, we're going to win. No, loss.
Boom.
I'm going to get
Why
Virginia.
do you have Tennessee over Cincinnati? I want to hear your
Tennessee
perspective on
over
this.
Cincinnati. Well, because the thing is you guys are mentioning, Tennessee sometimes, like, if they don't put themselves in the right position, they're going to lose the game. And Cincinnati, they got themselves some great players. But the thing is that I feel like Tennessee is good enough to put themselves in the right position to at least reach the Elite Eight. Are they a Final Four team? No. But this year, I don't know. Tennessee's got to make the push. It's a little bit of love for Derek Barnett that I still have inside of me.
That's cute.
I love Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
So, exactly.
Oh yeah. Let's just get. This is a Tennessee show, everybody.
Tennessee Love Fest.
Yeah.
Tennessee to me is kind of like Tennessee to me is kind of like reminds me of Ohio State.
What's the fight song? Can we start humming it?
It's just a good university with just a good team. Thank you. And I just got Virginia winning it. They can beat Kansas State.
So you got Virginia over Tennessee going into the Final Four. I got Cincinnati over Arizona because I think Cincinnati will be able to guard DeAndre Ayton and the bounce scoring attack of Arizona. I think they'll be able to carry their hot streak. So you have Cincinnati. I have Cincinnati. You have Virginia. So my Final Four
finally made it.
is Cincinnati versus Ohio State. Villanova
real quick.
versus
Shout
Kansas.
out to everyone who's still here with us. We love you.
Yeah, if you're still tuning in at this point, you're invited to my birthday party, and not many people make that cut, so that's a big deal.
But bring your own water gun, okay?
Yeah, can you BYOB?
I lost mine.
We're gonna need that.
All right, so Mass, read off your Final Four.
All right, so I got Virginia versus Ohio State on the left side, and on my right side, I got Purdue versus Duke. I got my Purdue matchup.
Purdue matchup. Okay, Taylor, what's your Final Four? Final Four.
I got Michigan, Cincinnati, Kansas, Purdue.
Michigan, Cincinnati, Kansas, Purdue. Okay, so we have some similarities. We both have Kansas, Cincinnati, and a Big Ten team in there. And you have Purdue coming out of the East bracket. You have Purdue, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you and Matt both have Purdue. So shall we do it? Our Final Four matchups.
I would like to do it, although I really need to go to the bathroom, so we're going to call an emergency commercial break here. We're going to get fresh-minded because we're down to our Final Four teams. This is where it gets really important, but when we come back from the commercial break, we will reveal our final winners.
bad.
And then the first thing I'm going to do is share it with John.
Well, folks, for anyone who's still even listening to us at this point, congratulations. You've made it. We got 4 teams left, the most important part of the entire bracket, Final Four here. All a little bit disagreement here. I got Cincinnati, Michigan, Purdue, Kansas. Mike has Villanova, Kansas, Cincinnati, Ohio State. Mass, who do you got in your Final Four?
Virginia, Ohio State, Purdue, and Duke.
Okay, well, here we go. I'm starting out mine right here on the west side here. West side killing. Cincinnati, Michigan. I'm going to go with Michigan in this game. And a lot of people are going to say don't do that because Cincinnati, in comparison to Michigan, has the better all-around team. But Cincinnati, up until this point, while as good as they are, will be lucky to be in the Final Four. Not a lot of people are picking Cincinnati to get to the Final Four. And usually when a team of this character gets to the Final Four, very rarely can they make it all the way to the title. I really like Michigan because Michigan has not only been to a national championship for basketball, they've won national championships for basketball before. And when I look at their size, they're going to be quite even. It's going to be a good game. Michigan by 2. I think what it's going to come down to is containing Gary Clark and how well will Cincinnati be able to play defensively against this Michigan team. Mm-hmm. That's going to answer the winner of this game. But I'm going with Michigan here, Mike. What about you?
All right, so I got Cincinnati versus Ohio State and Keita Bates-Diop, 6'9" forward. Cincinnati really has the size to match up with him, obviously with Gary Clark, Kyle Washington, and the likes of players like that. I think Cincinnati matches up extremely well with Ohio State. They have Gary Clark, who easily neutralizes with Keita Bates-Diop. So I like Cincinnati to beat Ohio State because I think they have more secondary scoring. I look at Kyle Washington, players like that. I really like their secondary scoring, and I think Cincinnati will be able to do it on the defensive end while getting some buckets with Jacob Evans and the likes like that. So I have Cincinnati beating Ohio State, advancing to the national championship. Massimo, what do you got?
Well, I like Ohio State over Virginia mainly because Chris Holtmann. You mentioned a lot of the roster, but we got to talk about the coach here, who's definitely Big Ten Coach of the Year. He's got his reputation over the years working at Butler and found his way into Ohio State. And people find themselves that whenever they bet against Holtmann and the Ohio State Buckeyes, it usually doesn't work against their favor. It usually doesn't work towards their favor. In this bracket, I kind of have Virginia winning some easy games. They're going against Kansas State, who's going to upset Creighton.
There we go.
Then they're going to beat Arizona and Tennessee. And like we said, all those teams are bound to make mistakes that we were all mentioning earlier. Mm-hmm. And that's why I just got Ohio State beating Virginia. They're just a more mature team. They got a better coach. They got a better roster. And that's it, baby.
So you got Ohio State in the national championship. We'll go a little snake draft reverse order right here. Massimo, tell me who you have playing Ohio State in your national championship.
Okay, let me tell you why Duke is going to win it for the big boys, because Duke is the best team. Okay, listen, I could talk about this for hours, but listen.
So you got Duke beating Purdue.
Yeah.
All right, so Duke, Ohio State national championship.
Duke,
tell me why you got Duke winning.
Because their coach, baby, let's go. And their roster, come on now. Take me like a 10-episode documentary to explain why Duke's going to win every single championship from now on in the rest of history. Navy SEALs.
Navy SEAL style, huh? Well, I'm sorry. I can't help but focus now. Temple just lost their first round of the NCAA.
Yeah, so we gave you that disclaimer that some stuff may get off track at this game. And currently right now, Temple just said, 3 minutes left in the game. Let's kind of blow this. So that's where we're currently at right now.
Yeah. So Temple lost. Tough way to end this season.
All right, well, get a little back on track right here. At least try to. Temple basketball makes me want to put a 12-gauge shotgun up to my temple. But
Duke's also got the toughest schedule. I just realized they got to play. Well, say they play Oklahoma, then they got to play Michigan State if that happens, and they got to play Kansas.
It is tough. I still think Arizona has a tougher road if they have to play the likes of Creighton, not Andor. If Virginia has to play the likes of Creighton, Arizona, or Kentucky, I feel like Virginia has the toughest road. But I have Cincinnati in my final, and my other side of the bracket, I have Villanova versus Kansas, 2 number 1 seeds in my final 4. I have Villanova because I think if Villanova makes it this far, there's no way they can't get to the national championship. You have Michael Bridges, Amari Spellman, Jalen Brunson. There's a lot of experience, there's a lot of veteran presence there with Villanova, and I just like Jalen Brunson to be able to take over a game and be able to top Kansas. And I have Cincinnati and Villanova in my national championship in what should be a beautiful, amazing, great game. But I'm going to have Villanova taking on Cincinnati and beating Cincinnati for the national championship. Villanova Wildcats will be your national champion over the Cincinnati Bearcats, because I just think Jalen Brunson will be able, and Omari Smellman, likes of those, will be able to overcome Cincinnati's tough and physical defense. Villanova will be able to dictate their own pace because I think Jay Wright is a very great coach, and I think they will be able to control that game. It will be close, but I think Villanova will have that game the rest of the way. So I have Villanova beating Cincinnati for the national championship with a final score of Villanova 68, Cincinnati 61. Taylor, what do you got?
I got Kansas over Purdue in the second half game, so I got a Kansas-Michigan championship here. Kansas-Michigan, man. Gotta love it, man. Bill Self is Jayhawks. They've been there before. They've done that. Can't forget that year that they played Memphis. Mario Chalmers. Never, ever going to forget that year.
Mario Chalmers.
I am picking,
Chalmers.
and I actually have not submitted a pick yet because I've saved it for the reveal here. I actually have not given you my national championship. I am picking, led by Devontae Graham, the Big 12 Player of the Year, the Kansas Jayhawks to win the national championship.
Okay. Kansas, book it.
I'm booking Kansas here. And listen, when it comes down to this, Kansas is going to match up better against Purdue, and honestly, Kansas all around is going to be better than Michigan when it all matters. I think national title game, it all comes down to that one game. Anyone can do it. We've all heard it before. But when you really look at this team, man, I mean, they beat Kentucky. They split one versus Texas Tech, but they really beat it off, at the very end. They just came off a Big 12 title. Devontae Graham's unbelievable. I mean, I can't even pronounce some of these guys' names on Kansas, but the Russian dude, I'm going to say, 15.1 points per game, he can score. I also got another foreign guy who can score. Why do you got to give me the hardest names for now?
Right.
If I'm going to pick you to win my national title, I at least want some sort of clarity in the way, your names are pronunciated. But long story short, it's been a long run in our bracket here. I'm picking Kansas to win the national title.
All right, so we all have Blue Bloods winning it in a year of the underdog, in a year of the shot-out programs such as Texas Tech, such as Tennessee, and quite frankly, should you say such as Michigan? Nah, not such as Michigan, but we have some weird schools such as Clemson, such as Auburn. So in the year of the weird school, we all have Blue Bloods winning it. Kansas is the pick Taylor is going with. I'm going with Villanova for the second time in 3 years. And we have Massimo being a privileged white guy with a silver spoon coming out of his mouth with Duke.
Yeah, boy. You know what I'll be doing out here? Duke forever, baby. I don't care what anyone says. Forget all the haters.
All right.
We're the number one.
Wow. Mass is really passionate about Duke. Apparently, I'm very passionate about Kansas, even though I feel like this year for March Madness, a lot's going to go wrong. It has the build to really just mess up a lot of people's lives, bracket-wise. Even a team that I'm picking to win a national championship, unlike any year, I'm not even too strongly passionate about. So I think that really speaks volumes as to what kind of March Madness we're going to get. I think overall, expect 3 to 4 upsets tomorrow. It's not going to be quite crazy. I think Madness is going to start to pick up more so in the Sweet 16, Elite 8. I think this is going to be very interesting. Cincinnati 30-4. Me and Mike believe in them big time. They got it in them to really make that deep run, and keep your eye out for Cincinnati. Show some love to the American in your bracket.
I think the round of 32 will definitely be the most interesting round because we'll already see some upsets, but you could have possible matchups that really could be great. With Virginia, Creighton, you have Kansas, Seton Hall, possible matchup, or even if Kansas plays North Carolina State, who've beaten Duke, North Carolina, teams like that. So North Carolina State can knock off a team like Kansas, and you have Florida State, who knows, that can knock off an Xavier team who a lot of people are doubting, and you have a Virginia Tech team that can knock off a Villanova team. So in a round of 32, you have all 4 number 1 seeds in matchups where they could possibly lose. Then you have teams like Ohio State where no one knows what's happening. So I think you have a lot of great matchups because you get to see maybe teams like TCU or Arizona State in a round of 32 get to really prove something. So I think the round of 32 is where we're going to see a lot of fun stuff happen, and I'm really looking forward to some of the matchups that can play out here. This is going to be a really fun ride because Texas Tech, they've had a basketball program. I'm still not surrounding my head around the fact that they have a basketball program and they're number 3 seed. So who knows what could happen in this tournament?
Yeah, a lot of things to go down. March Madness starts tomorrow. We'll have an NFL free agency show for you next week, maybe even this weekend. I hear there's rumors going around. Don't quote me on that. Who knows? We're busy men.
Okay.
A lot going on right now in the world of sports. Baseball coming up, NBA, NHL, everything. But March Madness above all. It's everyone's favorite time of year. So, any last words before we? I guess the madness commences tomorrow. No pun intended. But any more last words?
2 double-digit seeds that can make Final Four runs. Stephen F. Austin, Providence. My favorite first-round matchup, I would have to say Seton Hall, North Carolina State. And geez, I'm really looking forward to seeing if West Virginia can prove something this year.
Yeah. Something to keep in mind: a season to go, 5 double-digit seeds, won in the first round, with at least one upset occurring in each of the 4 regions. When picking your bracket, remember that stat.
Make sure you just have your fair share of upsets. Don't get too crazy, but hey, you only live once, so get as crazy as you want.
Yeah.
Don't pick Lipscomb like I did. And in the words of the somewhat sub-average Colin Cowherd, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. Good night, everybody.
There you have it. I mean, I don't think there's really much to say.
That's a wrap here from TFL. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
I just caught y'all so off guard.